completely open.
Oh yes, I mean, in 2016 after Uri, incursions by Indian Army were up to 3 kilometers inside POK. Moving to Balakot, it went up to 60 kilometers. This time around, Operation Sindoor, we've seen 150 kilometers into Pakistan. We've been able to hit them. So imagine if this ends up reaching Lahore. You're right, it's going to be a lot of insecurity, a lot of insecurity for the Punjabis there. I do want to go across to Akash Sharma on that note as well. Akash, we've been breaking down details of the official statement that's been released, and we're learning that S-400s have played a crucial role in taking down these targets in Pakistan. So give us a sense of what you're learning from your sources.
Right. Multiple air defense units are, present to counter the threats in western borders and northern borders. S-400, of course, one battery is present for the western border, one is there for the northern, and one is there for the eastern as well. We had ordered 5 regiments. We have got 3 regiments. And at this point in time, while we talk about this sort of attempt from Pakistan, so S-400, of course, played a major role. In fact, the system downed the sort of threats that were coming. And we are also learning, Kritzween, that Harpy drone was very much used. Harpy, comes under loitering munition category, which has got a range of 500 kilometer. In fact, the advanced version has a range of 1000 kilometer. It can go to a target, can hover on that particular target. It gives you an opportunity to log that target, and then, it can simply get destroyed on that particular target. It can go as a suicide, attack. And that's the reason why we also call it a kamikaze drone, because it gets destroyed after hitting the target. As far as this particular attempt is concerned, so Pakistan was basically trying the military infrastructure, in areas Jammu and Kashmir, Punjab, Haryana, and also Gujarat. This time around, they are not just targeting, areas that are close to LC, but also the international border. Gujarat has nothing to do with the sort of conflict. We have international border there. Punjab, for that matter, has nothing to do with it. But they want to escalate, and it's a clear provocation. It's a clear indication that they want to escalate the situation further. In fact, their DG ISPR today claimed that, they have detected several sort of drones, they have captured several sort of drones, and, alleged a number of things. But this sort of operation, in fact, the release by the Defense Ministry and the operation by the armed forces is somewhere suggesting that we don't want any escalation, but if you will try our military establishment or the infrastructure, will not spare you. Also, Kritzween, one important part in this whole scenario, as far as these operations are concerned, so air defense is a collective responsibility of Army and Air Force. As far as areas like Punjab, Gujarat and Jammu Kashmir are concerned, so we have got, other than S-400, we have got Akash, we have got several MSM and other things, other air defense systems. We have been told that it was a calibrated and, integrated effort, by these air defense systems, where, not just the threat was in fact neutralized, but also a call was taken as to how it will be answered. And this is when, this drone in fact has taken a part. And we have been told that, the advanced version of Harpy is being used. In fact, we are waiting for an official confirmation. But yes, Harpy, is very much used, an Israeli weapon. And in fact, a loitering munition that can, it has got anti-radar seeking capability as well. And that's why systems like HQ9, cannot detect these drones.
Okay, Akash, many thanks for that quick update. Wing Commander Alok Sahai, how do you look at this? It all makes sense now. We were putting out visuals earlier as well of the debris of the projectiles, Pakistani projectiles that was spotted in Amritsar. Now it all makes sense of what perhaps happened through the night and early this morning. What do you think is Pakistan's plan as we speak? What are they really trying to do? India's come out to talk about its intent very clearly. We've said why we went ahead with Operation Sindoor, the reasoning behind it, the intent, the target, and how none of the military or civilian installations were targeted through Operation Sindoor. What are they trying to do in your understanding, sir?
See, there are two things. One is that one attempt is to save face within Pakistan. They can't show their face to Pakistani people the way they have been hit. Second is some of the knee-jerk reaction by senior military personnel or the political establishment. But I do not think political establishment will take such a strong decision, because we all know what type of strength, character strength Shahbaz Sharif has. So if the Pakistani military leadership tries to, some of the elements, they may try that we should go for attacking Indian military establishments. So these are the two things. If it is just to save the face, then they would not have launched this kind of attack at so many places directed towards our military establishment. It is a clear-cut demonstration of their intention that they want to have a conflict with Indian Army. And if that is the intention which is very amply displayed by their act last night, then India has got every reason to tell the world that look, we have not initiated the conflict with the Pakistani army. It is they who are initiating the conflict with us. So in the international forum, we are on a very strong platform that look, initially we have struck only the terrorist targets. We have not touched the military establishment. If Pakistani army is touching and hitting our military establishment, then the ball is in their court and they should be blamed for escalating the matter. Maybe it may very soon, if this goes on like this, it may lead to a full-scale war too. And that is what we are worried about, and we should be ready for that eventuality also, and that is why we need to prepare ourselves in every cities and towns, especially in the border states.
And they have made the first wrong move already. Yes, it was defeated, it was taken down by the Indian Armed Forces, but they have gone ahead with a misadventure already. We're going to see how this plays out the next few hours. Once again, extremely crucial. Wing Commander Colonel V.N. Thapar, stay on with us. We'll be right back after a very quick break. I'm just interrupting you, apologies for that. We've got some big breaking updates coming in. Exactly what we were discussing is the confirmation that is coming on CNN News 18 now that today morning, Indian Armed Forces have targeted air defense radars and systems at a number of locations in Pakistan. The Indian response has been the same domain and same intensity as Pakistan's. It has been reliably learned that an air defense system at Lahore has been neutralized. Pakistan has increased the intensity of its unprovoked firing across the line of control, using mortars and heavy caliber artillery in areas like Kupwara, Baramulla, Uri, Poonch, Mendar and Rajouri sectors in Jammu and Kashmir. 16 innocent lives have been lost, including 3 women and 5 children. Here too, India was compelled to respond to bring mortar and artillery fire from Pakistan to a halt. Indian Armed Forces reiterate their commitment to non-escalation, provided it is respected by the Pakistani military. My colleague Akash is joining us on this. So finally, the confirmation coming in from the Indian Armed Forces, Akash.
Yes, in fact, we were discussing that how, there is input that how the AD system of Pakistan has been destroyed, and now we are getting confirmation from the forces that how Pakistan tried to engage with the military infrastructure in different areas, in the areas that you rightly mentioned, Awantipura, Srinagar, Jammu, and in fact Amritsar, Punjab area. Several military infrastructures, were targeted, but our AD system thwarted these attempts, and in retaliation, Indian Armed Forces basically carried out these strikes where their radars and their AD system. We were talking about HQ-9, in fact, and now we are getting a confirmation that in our retaliation, Indian Armed Forces have successfully destroyed their air defense system and in fact their radars, their several radars. And this was in retaliation. It was categorically mentioned in the press conference, where a briefing was held for the Operation Sindoor, that we are not going to escalate it further, but if Pakistan will try to attack us or attack our establishment, infrastructure, then we will retaliate, and there would be a strong retaliation. And this is what is a strong retaliation, where the Indian Armed Forces have destroyed their AD system and in fact their radars that were very much placed in locations close to border. In fact, one system in Lahore has been destroyed.
The statement says it has been reliably learnt that an air defense system at Lahore has been neutralized. Exactly some of the updates that we were getting earlier via sources. It has now been confirmed. And Akash, it's important to note, we are reading out that Ministry of Defence press release. The headline of that press release says Pakistan's bid to escalate negated and purport Welcome back, viewers. Thanks for staying tuned to CNN News 18. Well, an important statement is coming from the government which confirms that Pakistan overnight tried to target as many as 15 military targets in India. 15 locations were targeted by Pakistan. An attempt was made which was clearly thwarted by our Indian armed forces. I do want to first up bring in Akash Sharma into the conversation. Rahul Shivshankar joins us as well. Akash, put in perspective the key takeaways of that statement. We do know about the 15 locations. Give us the names and tell us what the government has signaled via this press conference.
Right. So first of all, Kritzween, the matter was in fact an end yesterday only, because India clarified that we don't want any escalation, and this was, just in retaliation to what we saw, on 22nd of April. Because Pakistan did not take any action, that's why India carried out these sort of strikes where 9 locations were targeted, and these locations were basically the hub of the terrorists who were getting trained there. In fact, these places were used to recruit the youth, and other things were happening as well, and that's why India took action. It was clarified that we don't want escalation. That's why we did not touch your military establishment or infrastructure or civilian property. But then too, Pakistan, launched attack on several properties, several military infrastructures, not in Jammu and Kashmir only, but in Punjab and in Gujarat as well. Avantipura, Srinagar, Jammu, and Bhuj, and there is in fact a whole list where they tried to attack. None of these attacks were successful. None. In fact, not even a single one was successful. S-400 and the other air defense systems, of course, played an important role. But then the Harpy drone was launched by the Indian Air Force. In fact, multiple Harpy drones were launched by Indian Air Force. Harpy is an Israeli, weapon. I was mentioning it earlier. It was launched, and it gives you a lot of capabilities. You can see your target. You can see the live feeding. You have the anti-radar seeker system, which can in fact which can not be detected by systems like HQ9 of China, and that's the reason why we have destroyed the air defense of Lahore. The ministry is categorically saying that they have got inputs, and in fact there is a credible evidence that they have in fact neutralized the air defense system in Lahore. And now, in fact, now it has been categorically mentioned that we don't want further escalation. That's the reason why we haven't touched any of your civilian or military target even now. We haven't touched your, target. We have only
even
destroyed
now,
your air defense system.
In giving it back to Pakistan, we've ensured it's tit for tat. It doesn't go beyond a certain escalation. We've maintained that, and we've shown that in the retaliation that we've gone ahead with. Rahul.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've been trying to tell you this over the last 15-20 minutes. The Indian government has made it very clear that they are going to be retaliating at the same level that the Pakistanis choose to. Now remember, we hit terror targets in Pakistan. We have not hit the Pakistani military. We haven't done what Pakistan has done across the LOC to Indian civilians. 15 or so have been killed and others maimed for life because of these cowardly attacks by Pakistan army on Indian civilians. We have not touched any civilian. There has been, to the best of our knowledge, no collateral damage, and this was very well annotated by videographic evidence recorded at the time that the precision strikes were taking place, and it was relayed back real time, so you can't tamper that evidence. Now what has happened is that overnight Pakistan has decided, because we don't have terror infrastructure, so I mean there's no reciprocity between India and Pakistan. So if we attack their terror infrastructure, they're feeling extremely, the Pakistani army is being made to look very silly. Now they want to respond. What are they going to respond against? So they've decided to punish the Indian state. Look at the disproportionality here, Kritzween. We attack terror infrastructure, they want to punish the Indian state. Instead of being thankful to us for doing them a favor, getting rid of non-state actors that are rogue in their country, that bring constant embarrassment to Pakistan, they are punishing India for doing something that they should be doing in the first place and upholding international law. So you have a situation where Pakistan decides that it's going to target India at different places. It's going to use its aircraft and its missiles to take out Indian systems. overnight India decides to press into service the S-400s that we purchased from Russia, and that is an integrated missile defense system. It's like an Iron Dome system that Israel has. Of course, India has a huge landmass. We are not as small as Israel, so coverage will be patchy, and there will be places where perhaps Pakistan will be able to come through. Even the Iron Dome in Israel is not exactly foolproof, but nonetheless, the point is that they try to target us along the border from Bhuj right up till the LOC, the farthest point there in Kashmir, and they decide that they're also going to target Amritsar and perhaps hit targets like even the Golden Temple.
Yeah.
And they have decided to do this because they want to look good. Because Munir wants to look good in Pakistan. He wants people to say, wow, you are the defender that we all thought you are. So he's doing this. But look at their response. It's completely disproportionate. So India engages the S-400s. We neutralize all of their strikes. But then we say that, look, since you want to escalate, then we'll pay you back in the same coin, which is that we will also attack your air defense systems, and we did that in Lahore. The footage, of course, you're seeing, and that is the supposed footage of the Indian kamikaze drone that took out the air defense system in Lahore city proper, and that's that footage that is now going viral. And those are the pictures of the plume of smoke where the kamikaze drone goes and targets the air defense system in Lahore. So obviously the intelligence is absolutely spot on where India is concerned. We know exactly where their positions are. And remember that just this morning at around 11:30, Ajit Doval went to meet the Prime Minister, and that meeting went on for about an hour, because obviously Ajit Doval was giving the Prime Minister a very, very exact, maybe even minute-to-minute play about what transpired last night. And as you can see, a large number of areas were being sought to be struck by Pakistan. In fact, I got a call at 12 o'clock at night saying that Sialkot is being hit, etc., on that side, because there's been a proportionate response and there's mayhem all over the place. That debris that has fallen on the fields of Punjab, etc., are the remnants of what Pakistan tried to do to us, but did not succeed because of our great armed forces. Right. And we really have to salute them. They've been up to the task. We knew the response was coming. Late last evening in the Pakistani National Assembly and to Pakistan, the various people, the citizens of Pakistan, the Prime Minister there, Shehbaz Sharif, addressed the people, gave a national address, and he swore bloody murder, and he said, I'm going to come after the Indians, we're going to do this, retribution is going to be bad. And within minutes of that speech, they tried to hit us. Yeah. They haven't succeeded. It tells you where Pakistan is at this moment. If they're relying on Chinese weapons, well, they're clearly playing with the wrong toys.
Right, absolutely. Absolutely right in pointing out the fact that Pakistan did go ahead with a certain strategy which stands completely destroyed, demolished. We've given it back to them. But Colonel V.N. Thapar, is that enough? I mean, attempting to target as many as 15 locations in India is big in itself. It's a big provocation, despite us making it amply clear we've not gone after your military installations.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But I want to make one or two points very clear. One is that once we have gone on to the escalation ladder, it will be very difficult to come down. We have carried out Operation Sindoor with great deliberation, with great thought and maturity, to leave a door open for negotiation as soon as the first phase is over. But Pakistan, you cannot dictate to the enemy what they should be doing. They will do exactly what they want to do. And therefore, the best is to take the maximum that they can do and be prepared for it. And I believe that once such high quality weapons are being used, the best in our arsenal, the best in their arsenal, the next is going to be an all-out conflict. And we should be ready for that. Thank you.
Okay, Wing Commander, do you foresee that? Very important point made by Sir there. Colonel V.N. Thapar says that be prepared for anything. If Pakistan is not willing to step back, Despite our repeated warnings, our intent has been made clear. We've spoken of how this was to deliver justice to the Pahalgam victims and their families, yet you continue to provoke inside. You're fighting a different parallel war on social media, fake propaganda at its peak, and you continue to do this in the meanwhile.
Yes, I agree with Colonel Thapar, and I'll tell you why I do agree with sir. Because you see the war doctrine and you see the previous war trends. This is what Pakistan has been doing in the 71 war also, 65 also. Just before launching a full-scale war, they attack all the nearby bases and air defense system. That is their first, and that's the war doctrine also, as I told you earlier. So, had it been just limited to saving face, it would not have been such a widespread areas, selection of areas, number one. It is not just for saving their face within the Pakistani people, you know. It is having, it is hinting at a sinister design, you know, a sinister intention, number one. Number two, I'll also say that, you know, there were some voices within Pakistan after our first wave of a strike, that since the one religious place was hit, because religious place was on the, you know, headquarter, the headquarter was under it. So they tried to create a religious frenzy, and there was a demand, a slogan shouting that Pakistan should hit Indian religious places. And then I see that why Swarna Mandir was also selected as one of the targets. In fact, this reminds me that our intelligence agencies should be extra alert to have vigil on all religious places in our country now, and be very careful and active against the activities of the sleeper cells. This is also, I would like to say, and I foresee that Pakistan attempt yesterday night is not just to save their face.
Okay.
Probably they want to escalate it a little higher. Yes.
Okay, you see this as an act of escalation already. So they're not going to stop at that going by this. If I were to believe the Wing Commander Colonel V.N. Thapar, yes, we do have faith in our military capabilities. Yes, we've been able to take down the missiles aimed at India, but we're talking about 15 prime locations in the country. How do we prepare for the best defense in this scenario?
No, whenever a conflict between two nations takes place, the air power is going to play a very important role, and therefore the first thing to be done is to neutralize the bases, air bases, and that's what Pakistan has done. From the list of attack targets that you have given, it is quite clear that they were wanting to hit the airfields so that our air power can be subdued. But unfortunately, with S-400, we have been able to prevent that happening. So, as far as the matter of feeling ashamed and things like that, they have been shamed and shamed many times over. They are so thick-skinned that to think about their being ashamed and therefore taking this retaliatory step will be a wrong presumption. It is a calculated move. It is taking the conflict one step up the escalation ladder, and it is going to go up from here. It's not going to come down. That I'm quite clear, and we should be prepared for the worst.
Okay, gentlemen, please stay on with us. Let's quickly put out details of what we broke down just a few minutes ago. This is the official version that's been shared by the government, by the armed forces. India has thwarted Pakistan's attempt. Now, here are the locations which were targeted by Pakistan. Attempts have been thwarted by the Indian Armed Forces, but look at this. In Jammu and Kashmir, 3 key locations which do have considerable military strength of the Indian Armed Forces as well. Avantipora in Jammu and Kashmir, Srinagar and Jammu as well. So 3 locations in Jammu and Kashmir. If we move on to Punjab, once again a bordering state, look at that. Amritsar, Pathankot, Kapurthala, Jalandhar, Ludhiana, Adampur and Bathinda. Once again, many of these areas, remember, are bordering with Pakistan. All of them were attacked by Pakistan overnight, early this morning. Now, if we speak of more locations that we've learned, 15 locations in total. Remember, it also includes Chandigarh. Chandigarh, a union territory, becomes extremely important given what Pakistan is up to. Rajasthan as well, once again, shares the international border with Pakistan. Nal, Falodi, Uttarlai, 3 locations in Rajasthan also attacked by Pakistan. Bhuj in Gujarat further. This is where Bhuj is located, at the international border with Pakistan. The 15th location to have been attacked by Pakistan. Now we continue to reiterate and repeat that none of these attempts have seen success. They were completely demolished by the Indian Armed Forces. So Pakistan's tactics have failed once again, clearly failed, but 15 locations were targeted indeed. Let's talk about another bit of breaking news update that's just come in. The Pakistan Cricket Board has decided to relocate all remaining matches of Pakistan Super League Season 10 to Karachi due to increasing tensions with India. So PCB coming out with this particular communication, deciding to relocate the remaining matches of the Pakistan Super League Season 10. This is the 10th season of the league. The matches will now be played in Karachi alone, given the tensions between India and Pakistan. Now do remember, there's a lot of movement action that's been witnessed in the heart of Pakistan. We're talking about Lahore also, witnessing certain explosions. Defense sources, of course, piecing the entire story together. Do remember, S-400s, as per sources in the Ministry of Defense, have played a crucial role in damaging the Pakistani air defense system, and those explosions could pretty much be linked to the statement that's been shared by the government now. But this is the latest bit of breaking news update coming in. In the wake of these developments, the PCB deciding to relocate all remaining matches of Pakistan Super League to Karachi. I do want to go across to my guests on the broadcast once again. Karan Thapar, if I can quickly come to you. How do you see this? We've all been discussing how there could be much more. One cannot keep their guards low or get laid back, become a little easy about what Pakistan may come up with next. Given the manner in which Pakistan has also made its intent amply clear, we're seeing very provocatory messages coming in from its political leadership. The pressure, of course, is mounting right from the top. General Munir, not just fighting for his existence, but also extension. So they're not going to stop very easily. Karan Thapar. Okay, I believe there's some audio issue with Colonel Thapar. I do want to go across to the Wing Commander on that note. Wing Commander, your assessment. How do you see this going forward?
Can you say once again, please? Because
Wing Commander, just meaning to ask, given the manner in which we've seen an escalation now from Pakistan attempting to target as many as 15 locations, military locations in India, not succeeding in it, Indian defense capability, at display in thwarting all of those attempts. So the Indian Armed Forces speaking through its military capabilities once again, but Pakistan isn't seemingly in a mood to back down either. They're trying to create a fake perception, a perception of how civilians have been hit hard by Operation Sindoor, a perception of how they have also been able to cause significant damage to Indian military assets, which is not the truth. We've been fact-checking each of those lies.
Yes, you see how blatant they are in their approach, that the world sees, the whole world saw that we attacked the only military, only terrorist organizations, and whereas they are taking the risk of taking a full-scale escalated war with India just because their puppets, their terrorists were attacked. So this shows a very clear and deep bond and between the Pakistani establishment and the terrorists. You see, all these activities of Pakistani army and Pakistani leadership is just because their terrorist centers have been hit. So what else can be proven to the world? I mean, it is very clear example, very clear proof that Pakistani establishment has nurtured them, has given birth to these organizations, and giving full support and munitions and protecting them within their own country. So, and this act of Pakistan is a clear act of escalation, and I'm sure Indian military will not take it lying down. The first glimpse was seen in the morning, hitting 12 places of Pakistan, and if things do not come to some immediate conclusion or some intervention, I'm sure this is going to escalate further, and the country should brace up for an escalated conflict. What I mean is that the country should give prime importance to the mock drills, to the procedures, to the steps to be taken. How should every individual in the household should keep things, certain things, keep ready, not to get panic, but be prepared so that in case of any eventuality, the damage to life and property can be minimized, can be controlled. And rest assured, Indian Defence Forces is capable enough to thwart any design, Pakistani design, to escalate the war. Indian air defence system, as you said, is not only limited to S-400. We have many layers of air defence system. We have got Akash. Even at the field level, we have got 3 to 5 kilometer range of Iglas. You know, we have further improved upon the Iglas now. So, air defence systems are very credible now with us. But more than that, our munitions, loitering munitions, drones, as you know, in swamp
not just that,
drones,
Wing Commander, you know, it stands nowhere in comparison to the Indian air defence system. The Pakistani, Chinese supported air defence system clearly, you know, have seen no success at all. So there's a clear comparison which is being drawn today for everyone to see. Wing Commander Sai, many thanks. Appreciate you joining us with all your thoughts. Heading into a very quick break, viewers. Be right back with lots more exclusives and breaking news updates. Stay tuned.
Yes!
I'm just interrupting you, apologies for that. We've got some big breaking updates coming in. Exactly what we were discussing is the confirmation that is coming on CNN News 18 now, that today morning, Indian armed forces have targeted air defense radars and systems at a number of locations in Pakistan. The Indian response has been the same domain and same intensity as Pakistan's. It has been reliably learned that an air defense system at Lahore has been neutralized. Pakistan has increased the intensity of its unprovoked firing across the line of control, using mortars and heavy caliber artillery in areas like Kupwara, Baramulla, Uri, Poonch, Mendar and Rajouri sectors in Jammu and Kashmir. 16 innocent lives have been lost, including 3 women and 5 children. Here too, India was compelled to respond to bring mortar and artillery fire from Pakistan to a halt. Indian armed forces reiterate their commitment to non-escalation, provided it is respected by the Pakistani military. My colleague Akash is joining us on this. So finally, the confirmation coming in from the Indian armed forces, Akash.
Yes, in fact, we were discussing that how, you know, there is you know, input that how the AD system of Pakistan has been destroyed, and now we are getting confirmation from the forces that how Pakistan tried to engage with the military infrastructure in different areas, in the areas that you rightly mentioned, Awantipura, Srinagar, Jammu, and in fact Amritsar, Punjab area. Several military infrastructures, you know, were targeted, but our AD system thwarted these attempts, and in retaliation, Indian armed forces basically carried out these strikes where their radars and their AD system. We were talking about HQ-9, in fact, and now we are getting a confirmation that in a retaliation, Indian armed forces have successfully destroyed their air defense system and in fact their radars, their several radars. And this was in retaliation. It was categorically mentioned in the press conference, you know, where a briefing was held for the Operation Sindoor, that we are not going to escalate it further, but if Pakistan will try to attack us or attack our establishment, infrastructure, then we will retaliate, and there would be a strong retaliation. And this is what is a strong retaliation, where the Indian armed forces have destroyed their AD system and in fact their radars that were very much placed in locations close to border. In fact, one system in Lahore has been destroyed.
The statement says it has been reliably learnt that an air defense system at Lahore has been neutralized. Exactly some of the updates that we were getting earlier via sources. It has now been confirmed. And Akash, it's important to note, we are reading out that Ministry of Defence press release. The headline of that press release says Pakistan's bid to escalate negated and proportionate response by India. So the bid to escalate is a very important phrase being used by the Indian government here.
Shivani, in fact, it was categorically mentioned, in the briefing of Operation Sindoor. I was highlighting it, that how the attack, in fact, the operation, that was carried out, day before yesterday, the night, it was, because of the fact that Pakistan did not take any sort of action against the terrorists who were behind the Pahalgam attack, and that's why it was required. No civilian infrastructure or no military infrastructure was targeted. It was clear that we just don't want escalation, but we will of course avenge what you did with our civilians, our tourists.
Okay,
and after that,
Akash, 1 second. Sorry to interrupt you there. I want to read out a very important part of this press release. On the night of 7-8 May 2025, Pakistan attempted to engage a number of military targets in northern and western India, including Avantipura, Srinagar, Jammu, Pathankot, Amritsar, Kapurthala, Jalandhar, Ludhiana, Adampur, Bhatinda, Chandigarh, Nal, Falodi, Uttarlai and Bhuj. Can you imagine? This is almost entire borderline of India with Pakistan, from Jammu and Kashmir to Gujarat. Using drones and missiles, they were neutralized by...
Hello, a very good evening. Thanks for staying tuned to CNN News 18. I'm Prithween Walia. First up, we start with the day's big headlines. India has carried out a precise retaliatory strike on Pakistani military assets after a major overnight attempt by Pakistan to target Indian military installations using drones and missiles. The Indian Air Force fired its S-400 air defense systems and foiled an aerial attack by Pakistan in retaliation to Operation Sindoor. US Consulate General in Lahore, Pakistan has directed its staff to shelter in places amid reports of drone explosions, downed drones and possible airspace incursions. Pakistan Cricket Board has decided to relocate all remaining matches of Pakistan Super League Season 10 to Karachi due to increasing tensions with India. Meanwhile, the European Union has condemned the Pahalgam attack and backed India's right to act against terrorists. The EU in the statement said that those responsible for Pahalgam attack must be brought to justice. And now, speaking of the big development coming in, the Indian Army has responded to Pakistan's provocation with a firm hand after Pakistan targeted 15 locations well within India with missiles and drones. India shot them down and even neutralized the air defense systems in Lahore. But we have more details on the particular strikes carried out by Pakistan, which military installations in which part of the country were deliberately targeted. India thwarting all of those attempts. But let's quickly put out that map graphic for you as well, which explains the story in detail. If we talk about Jammu and Kashmir, Avantipura, Srinagar, Jammu in J&K were specifically targeted by Pakistan. In Punjab, Pathankot, Amritsar, Kapurthala, Jalandhar, Ludhiana, Bhatinda were some of the prime targets. Chandigarh was also on Pakistan's radar. In fact, Chandigarh was attempted to strike by Pakistan. Their attempts did not succeed. Rajasthan also saw a few threats. This is Nal in Falodi and Uttarlai in Gujarat as well. Bhuj was targeted by Pakistan through these missile attacks. But do remember, in retaliation, India has responded formally. India, in fact, has taken down the Pakistani air defense system. And that's what explains what really happened in Lahore and Karachi a little while earlier through the reports that we'd been putting out for you viewers. I do want to bring in my colleague Ishan Vani, who joins us on the broadcast with the latest. Ishan, we've picked out at least 3 different locations in Jammu and Kashmir which were targeted by Pakistan, and we've seen these developments through the night. Give us a sense of what you've been picking up on ground zero and how did it really play out in terms of retaliation by India?
What we know is that there are 3 locations that we have been given to understand where the possibility of them retaliated has emerged. What we have been given to understand that, in Srinagar, in Avantipur, both of them host the Indian Air Force's base. So possibility is that they wanted to target it, because day one they said that, they wanted to target these particular air bases, and that's why you're seeing a retaliatory action like India hitting the air defense system of Pakistan, because we believe that the attempt was to hit the India's air capabilities or India's defense and to capture them off guard. But the reality is that the government is saying and the army is saying that they were able to defend it and shoot them down, shoot every possible missile or every possible attempt that was made to made any harm to the India's security and India's defense, because these are critical to the Indian army, to the Indian Air Force, to the other security forces, and the attempt was to basically do it. If you recall, on the very first day there was a fake news spread that Srinagar airport was hit by Pakistan, which turned out to be false. So they tried and attempted yesterday that all these areas, including in Punjab, there is a wider spectrum of area where they attempted to carry out those strikes. There was an attempt to do that. But remember, the India's retaliatory action is possibly coming out of the actions that Pakistan has undertaken to target Indian positions and Indian defenses. And it is very clear from the statement that it was Pakistan which tried and attempted to basically attack and to create a ruckus or to ensure that there is chaos at these bases by carrying out attack. But India's defense was on guard. It has hit back. It has neutralized the threat first, and the next very day it has carried out what we have been given to understand through sources that possibly destroyed those air defense systems which were located in Lahore and other places. It's crucial times for Jammu and Kashmir as well as for the rest of the country, particularly in wake of the attacks that India has been able to defend every such aggression which has taken place in Kashmir, in Punjab and any other part of the country, where they are now trying to ensure that the defenses are there and they are ensuring that the air defense system continues to be on a highest alert. Even here where I am right now in Uri, there is high level of alertness the security forces and the agencies are maintaining to ensure that the situation remains calm. There has been mobilization of multiple teams, including the medical teams, including people have been moved to safer places. So in case of any eventuality or any kind of strike that Pakistan carries out, be it the artillery, be it through their using of missile to carry out any targets in Uri or any other sectors, that India is well guarded and India is very well protected on the ground.
Oh yes, their nefarious design at these aimed at these military installations has been defeated by the Indian Armed Forces. They still have been continuing their unprovoked firing, artillery shelling that we've seen, and I do want a first-hand update on that from you, Ishan. I'll come back to you in just a few seconds. Allow me to bring in Siddhant into the conversation as well. Siddhant, I particularly want to focus on what the official statement reads. It says, today morning, Indian Armed Forces targeted air defense radars and systems at a number of locations in Pakistan. Indian response has been in the same domain with the same intensity as Pakistan. It's been reliably learned that an air defense system at Lahore has been neutralized. So India there placing facts on the table, and diplomatically as well, India is ensuring that it engages with as many stakeholders to put the message straight so that the world leaders and global powers don't fall into Pakistan's propaganda. Siddhant.
Well, that's right. Kritswin. In fact, yesterday at a briefing to foreign envoys and representatives, Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri made it very clear that India has not targeted civilians or military installations, but if Pakistan will target India's military installations or civilians, perhaps India will respond back. And that is exactly what has happened, where in fact what we're getting to know, in fact this is what DG ISPR of Pakistan has also reported some time back, that there have been targeted strikes on the military installations in Pakistan, in Lahore, in Rawalpindi, in Karachi, in Bahawalpur, and in fact Lahore's air defense systems have been brought down by the Indian side. Perhaps again a big blow to Pakistani air defense, and in fact this has been done, and Indian side's release very clearly mentions, as you rightly pointed out, that this was done because of the shelling that Pakistan is doing on LOC, especially the civilian casualty that took place in Poonch and other parts of LOC. At the same time, also because last night Pakistani forces did try to engage Indian military installations, and in fact India has also mentioned the specific locations where Pakistani side tried engaging the Indian military installations. So it's kind of a response which India has given perhaps, and in fact since morning, Kritsween, we have been reporting that how Pakistani media is is talking about explosions happening in Lahore, explosions happening in Karachi, gunshots heard, smoke could be seen, etc., etc. And in fact, Pakistani media have been told that how Pakistani army has shot down these drones sent by India, etc., etc. But perhaps it was a very, very very important response by the Indian side,
Right.
and this decision was taken perhaps to continue Operation Sindoor only because yesterday Pakistan attempted to engage India's military installations. At the same time, there has been 16 civilians who have got killed in Pakistan's shelling on LOC. Perhaps it's a response to that.
Oh yes, so Operation Sindoor was in response to the Pahalgam attack, and once again the Indian Army making it amply clear that the responses earlier today were a retaliation to the Pakistani misadventure, targeting as many as 15 locations in India. Siddhant, Ishan, continue to stay on with us. I do want to bring in Lieutenant General D.P. Pandey, former GOC 15 Corps, joins us on the broadcast. Lieutenant Pandey, who better than you to help us understand or decode this nefarious design which is once again at play on Pakistan's end? We see Pakistan clearly provoked. They're the ones to make this first move of attempting to target 15 locations well within India, and so we're not talking about locations along the LOC.
So I think we must always dial back, and somewhere possibly News 18 will do well to start always a system on Pahalgam. That was the start point, and thereafter we need to keep on every time dial back to Pahalgam, and after Pahalgam we hit the terror camps. We have restricted to a zero escalatory level, right? Avoiding military stuff or civilian targets. What has Pakistan done? Pakistan immediately responded by killing civilians in Punj, in minority people, Sikhs, Kashmiri Muslims, all across, trying to hit population centers, very, very deliberate and calculated manner. What they have done thereafter is very surprising, that they tried to hit military targets here and after in the night, which has been now informed, and debris have been also recovered. 15 targets. So there is a whole misinformation campaign also being clubbed with this entire thing, when their DG, where their spokesperson is coming out and saying, we have brought down the drones. These drones are Harov drones. They are loitering ammunitions. They are controlled by a man on command to hit military targets or the targets which appear or we want to hit. So we need to link back in the entire cycle of operations which the Pakistanis are doing, that there is also a very deliberate disinformation, misinformation campaign going on. So while they try to hit the military targets which have been neutralized, India has scaled up and has only responded in an equitable measure, very deliberate on military installations. There has been hardly any casualties or no casualties reported of civilians yet. And very important achievement, I guess, when you take out an AD establishment, an AD system, is a very, very major success for
Yes.
Indian forces, not very easy to do. So there is a very calibration which is being done to tell the world that, look, we are responsible power as compared, or, well, of course it's known, but we continue to maintain our system of escalation ladder very, very clear for everybody to know.
Yes, and they're heavily relying, Lieutenant General Pandey, on this kind of a disinformation war also because they have no right reason to engage with India. India has many reasons to give it back to Pakistan with none left with them. Lieutenant General Pandey, allow me a few moments. I do want to put our focus back to another bit of breaking news update that's just come in. Pakistan MP, we're learning, broke down in the National Assembly and he was pleading for the conflict to stop. He says, we must try to save Pakistan. So this is a Pakistan MP now banking on prayers to save his own country. Listen in.
तो इसलिए जनाब स्पीकर ये बात वाज़ा कर देनी चाहिए, हमारी कौम यकजा है। मैं इन सब से कहूँगा कि मिल के चलो और अपने रब से रुजू करो। रब काबा, हम तेरे आगे दरख्वास्त करते हैं, इस मुल्क की हिफाजत फरमाना जो तूने हमें अता किया है, और ये नबी सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम की दुआओं का है। आपने कायदे आज़म को इंग्लैंड में मुलाकात की, ख्वाब में आए और उनको कहा कि जाओ वापस और जाके पाकिस्तान का मामला हल करो। आप खान कलात को ख्वाब में आके ये हुक्म दिया कि तुमने पाकिस्तान की सरना ये मुल्क बन के रहेगा और तुमने तो ये ऐसा बड़ा मौजज़ा है कि अल्लाह पाक ने ये हमें अता किया है और अल्लाह पाक इस मुल्क की हिफाजत फरमाएंगे। दुनिया में जहां भी देखें शायद हमारी कमी है, हम मजबूर हैं, हम गुनाहगार हैं, लेकिन रब्बे काबा हम तेरे हबीब के उम्मती हैं, खुदा का वास्ता हमसे रहम का मौला फरमा। आप चले जाएं उधर फिलिस्तीन में चले जाएं, कश्मीर में चले जाएं, जहां भी जाएंगे मुसलमानों के साथ वो ऐसे हो रहा है जो हम सोच भी नहीं सकते हैं। तो तू हमें माफ कर दे, हम तेरे आगे सर झुकाते हैं, माफी मांगते हैं। नहीं, इसमें दो राय नहीं है मौला कि हम बड़े गुनाहगार हैं, लेकिन तेरी रहमत बहुत वसी है, तू रहमत का एक जर्रा भी भेजेगा हमारी तरफ तो इंशाल्लाह हमारी कामयाबी होगी। और दुआ करते हैं रब्बे काबा कि इस मुल्क की हिफाजत फरा और हमें दुश्मनों पर जो है वो फकीर अता फरमा और हमें उनको सरनगू करने की ताकत अता फरमा। मैं दुआ गो हूँ आर्म फोर्सेस के लिए, पाकिस्तानियों के लिए कि अल्लाह पाक हम सब की हिफाजत फरमाए और हमें आपस में जोड़ के रखे। जब भी गई है तो
I do want to bring in my colleague Siddhant Mishra into the conversation. Siddhant, explain this reaction to us. Clearly, we saw that the Member of Parliament in the National Assembly began by breaking down. You know, he was feeling sorry for the state of affairs in Pakistan. But it also indicates very clearly that General Asim Munir is not considering the opinion or the sentiments of the political leadership in his country.
Well, that's right, Kritswin, and in fact, this has been going on from a very, very long time. People of Pakistan, the Awam of Pakistan hate Asim Munir and Mia Shehbaz Sharif. In fact, they have to say that even if you talk to them, they will tell you that how Shehbaz Sharif has stolen the mandate, and in fact, he is the puppet prime minister. The shots are being called by the Pakistani army, and at this point in time, where this country is running on IMF bailout money, when this country is running on the funds being given to them by countries in the West Asia, perhaps people of Pakistan have also understood that on one end there is India, which has become a $3 trillion economy, and will went on to become $5 trillion economy in next few years, and here we are still begging money from IMF and other international organizations. And the people of Pakistan, especially the youngsters, blame Pakistani army and Pakistani politicians for this condition. And in fact, this time around also, you see from last 3 weeks, there have been multiple provocative statements. Perhaps, ISI and Pakistan have given handouts after handouts to these politicians to, read the script of ISI in Pakistan word by word, go into all the television networks across the world, etc., etc. But it has very little impact on the people of Pakistan, because people of Pakistan are not feeling safe. They are not liking that Pakistan has deliberately escalated tensions with India. They are not liking how Pakistan has been involved in the proxy warfare with India. They are not liking that how Pakistan shelters and funds terror organization, and perhaps later those terror organizations become headache for Pakistan. In fact, Manoj Gupta also has been reporting extensively on this, that how Pakistani army, there are multiple units. They don't have money. They are crowdfunding their daily expenditures. There is a dissent in the Pakistani army. They are not liking the way Asim Munir is taking decisions, and perhaps going all out on a war with India, perhaps doing proxy warfare with India. Also, Kritsween, the traditional army doesn't have funds, because all the funds are being diverted for the proxy warfare against India. So that is also one thing which people in Pakistan are not liking. That is also one thing which Pakistani army is not liking. And today you see how from 2019 to 2025 India has evolved, perhaps has gone up as far as its capacity and capabilities are concerned. And perhaps this is the reason that this time around India used long standoff systems perhaps to hit the enemy targets in Pakistan. And in fact, these sophisticated drones have been used, S-400s have been used. So, India has gone far way ahead of Pakistan as far as defense capacities and capabilities are concerned, because India has always given importance to the traditional army, to the traditional armed forces. India doesn't believe in proxy warfare, and today you are seeing the result, that how when they tried engaging with our military installations last night perhaps they were shot down by S-400, and today when Indian side went inside and perhaps damaged their military installations, and in fact Lahore air defense systems have been brought down by the Indian side. So this it says a lot about how India has gone far more ahead of Pakistan in terms of its capabilities, armed forces capabilities, and in fact talk about Indian Navy, Indian Army, Indian Air Force, this is what, even this is something which the people of Pakistan are also realizing. Their politicians, and in the Awam,
and that's why it's become a battle of survival for General Asim Munir, isn't it, Siddhant? Stay on with us. I do want to take that to Lieutenant General D.P. Pandey as well. Lieutenant General Pandey, through the course of our discussions, from the last few days, we've learnt and pretty much established one thing very clearly, that General Asim Munir is not quite liked in the political corridors of Pakistan. In fact, many experts have been telling us on our channel that perhaps after General Yahya Khan, he's the most disliked Pak Army general. He's so much so that he's almost caused a vertical split in the Pak Army. Not to forget, he's not really listening to the political leadership at all. What makes him so unpopular in your view?
I just to dial back the previous conversation, please understand that what is happening in the parliament there is very, very controlled leakages. So when somebody is breaking down and you listen to his conversation, and I've heard a conversation of a People's Party, one of the lady MPs also, this conversation is leading on that they have got an opportunity to make Pakistan and they need to be responsible towards Palestine and Kashmir, and we have got this opportunity, we have not done, and now the time has come to be behind armed forces. So this statement, which has been allowed to move out from that very, very closed this thing, is actually telling out to the Pakistani population through the crying, weeping, all the system, the drama which they put out through the information campaign for their own people, that you need to unite behind. The last line, the operative line is that we need to be rally behind the armed forces. These are structured scripts which have been given, and it has been quite well aware. We have seen number of times the civilian representatives are being told what to speak. So let's not get carried away by this breakdown. But the lower, the younger population, the population which is outside and doesn't have a voice, is the one which exactly what Siddhant has brought on, and totally agree with it. But this purge which he has carried out to be where he is.
Right, absolutely. Lieutenant General Pandey, sorry to interrupt you there. We will continue with this conversation. For now, we're picking up another important update. This one has been shared by the Bharatiya Janata Party. The BJP has put out a post on social media and claims that the mastermind of the Kandahar plane hijack and the Pathankot terror attack, apart from the Indian Parliament terror attack, Abdul Rauf Azhar has been killed in Operation Sindoor. We've been breaking down details of the kind of casualty the terror ecosystem in Pakistan has suffered in the wake of Operation Sindoor, and this is one such example that the Bharatiya Janata Party is now bringing forth. I do want to go across to Siddhant Mishra, who continues to stay on with us. Siddhant, this takes us back to that video clip that the Indian Armed Forces had shared yesterday, through that important press brief after the specific inputs which were shared by Foreign Secretary as well. But here's a man, the BJP has spoken of Abdul Rauf Azhar and has confirmed that the man behind three big terror attacks in India has also been eliminated in Operation Sindoor.
Well, Kritsween, it's very important to highlight. In fact, India's Operation Sindoor delivers justice for American Jewish journalist Daniel Pearl. In fact, a terrorist eliminated is Abdul Rauf Azhar. He was the operational head of Jaish-e-Mohammed mastermind of IC-814 hijacking. In fact, how India has avenged the killing of Daniel Pearl, I would explain that. So, Rauf Azhar's role in orchestrating the IC-814 hijacking directly facilitated the release of Omar Said Sheikh, perhaps a key Al-Qaeda aide operative who went on to kidnap and murder Daniel Pearl, or an American Jewish journalist working with Wall Street Journal. So yesterday's targeted strikes by India have also avenged the killing of Jewish American journalist Daniel Pearl, and perhaps that has been confirmed to us by the government of India. And in fact, now Bharatiya Janata Party's also social media handle has come up with a post praising Indian armed forces.
Okay, all right. Many thanks, Siddhant, for joining us with that quick update. I believe Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh is speaking live. We need to cut across.
Barua, DG AQA, Sri Sanjay Chawla, CMDs of DPSUs, senior officers, head of the industry associations, young entrepreneurs, friends from media, ladies and gentlemen. जिस समय सेक्रेटरी डिफेंस प्रोडक्शन वेलकम स्पीच दे रहे थे तो उन्होंने आभार व्यक्त किया कि मैं इस कार्यक्रम में आप सबके बीच उपस्थित हूं। सच्चाई ये है, खैर उन्हें औपचारिकता पूरी करनी थी, पूरी की उन्होंने, लेकिन इस क्वालिटी नेशनल क्वालिटी कॉन्क्लेव में आना मुझे बेहद अच्छा लगा है। वैसे ऑर्डिनरी कॉन्क्लेव में तो हम लोग जाते रहते हैं, तो क्वालिटी कॉन्क्लेव में आने में क्या आपत्ति हो सकती है। साथियों, सबसे पहले तो मैं हमारी आर्म्ड फोर्सेज ने कल जो कार्रवाई की है और जय हिंद जो शौर्य और पराक्रम दिखाया है उसके लिए मैं हृदय से बधाई देता हूं। पाकिस्तान और पीओके में जिस तरह से हमारी आर्म्ड फोर्सेस ने टेरर कैंप्स को नेस्त नाबूद किया है वो हम सबके लिए एक गौरव का विषय है। साथियों, आप सभी नेशनल क्वालिटी कॉन्क्लेव का आयोजन ये आपका चल रहा है। क्वालिटी की क्या भूमिका होती है, यह क्या रोल अदा करती है, इसका नमूना हमने कल देखा। जिस प्रेसिजन के साथ यानी जिस सटीकता के साथ ऑपरेशन सिंदूर एग्जीक्यूट किया गया वह अनइमेजिनेबल है, बहुत ही सराहनीय है। इसमें 9 टेररिस्ट कैंप्स तबाह हुए और अच्छी खासी संख्या में आतंकी मारे गए। जिस तरह से इस ऑपरेशन को किसी भी इनोसेंट को नुकसान पहुंचाए बिना मिनिमम कोलेटरल डैमेज के साथ अंजाम दिया गया, वह इसलिए संभव हो पाया क्योंकि हमारे फॉर्मिडेबल एंड प्रोफेशनली ट्रेन्ड आर्म्ड फोर्सेस के पास इक्विपमेंट भी हाई क्वालिटी के थे। ऐसे में इस क्वालिटी कॉन्क्लेव को मैं बड़े महत्वपूर्ण कॉन्क्लेव के रूप में देखता हूं। मैं इस आयोजन के लिए डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ डिफेंस प्रोडक्शन और इनके सेक्रेटरी डिफेंस प्रोडक्शन श्री संजीव कुमार को भी हार्दिक बधाई देता हूं और क्वालिटी एश्योरेंस ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस को भी मैं बधाई देता हूं। साथियों, अभी मैं इस कॉन्क्लेव की थीम देख रहा था, फास्ट ट्रैकिंग ऑफ क्वालिटी एश्योरेंस थ्रू इंटीग्रेटेड अप्रोच एंड टेक्नोलॉजी एनेबल्ड प्रोसेसेस। आपकी यह थीम मुझे बेहद अच्छी ही नहीं लगी बल्कि दिलचस्प भी लगी, इंटरेस्टिंग लगी। वैसे भी पूरी दुनिया में इसमें बड़ी तेजी से डिसरप्टिव चेंजेस हो रहे हैं और खासकर डिफेंस सेक्टर में तो लगातार नए नए ट्रांसफॉर्मेशंस ये देखने को मिल रहे हैं। ऐसे में क्वालिटी असेसमेंट को फास्ट ट्रैक करना न सिर्फ रेलेवेंट है बल्कि मैं समझता हूं यह समय की मांग है। उन चेंजेस को देखते हुए यह थीम अपने आप में बहुत ही रेलेवेंट हो जाती है। इतनी इंटरेस्टिंग और रिलेवेंट थीम रखने के लिए भी मैं आप सबको बधाई देता हूं। साथियों, अक्सर मुझे आर्म्ड फोर्सेस के अलग अलग कार्यक्रमों में प्रायः जाने का अवसर मिलता है। रिसर्च एंड डेवलपमेंट ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस के इवेंट्स में जाने का भी अवसर मिलता रहता है। प्राइवेट सेक्टर द्वारा आयोजित कार्यक्रमों में भी मैं प्रायः जाता ही रहता हूं। परंतु आज का यह जो मंच है, यह अपने आप में बड़ा अलग है और एक विशिष्ट मंच है। मैं ये देख रहा हूं कि यहां कई सारे लोग हैं जो अलग अलग फील्ड्स में महारत जिन्होंने हासिल की है, महारथी बैठे हैं यहां। इसलिए मुझे लगता है कि आज की हमारी बातचीत भी कई मायनों में विशेष होने वाली है। साथियों, इस क्वालिटी कॉन्क्लेव की महत्ता और आवश्यकता पर तो मैं आगे चर्चा करूंगा ही, परंतु पहले मैं आपको कुछ ऐसे बिंदुओं से, कुछ ऐसे पॉइंट से अवगत कराना चाहूंगा जो हमारी सरकार की प्रायोरिटीज से जुड़े हुए हैं। 2014 में माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी के नेतृत्व में हमारी सरकार आने के बाद प्रधानमंत्री जी ने हमें एक अत्यंत महत्वपूर्ण सूत्र प्रदान किया। उन्होंने शुरुआत में ही डिफेंस प्रोडक्शन सेक्टर के एम्पावरमेंट पर विशेष बल दिया। उन्होंने जो सूत्र दिया उसके पीछे की फिलॉसफी थी डिफेंस सॉवरेंटी। डिफेंस सॉवरेंटी का मतलब कि जब तक कोई देश अपनी डिफेंस नीड्स में कैपेबल तथा सेल्फ रिलायंट नहीं होता, तब तक उसकी आजादी पूरी तरह से नहीं मानी जा सकती। जब तक हम अपनी सुरक्षा के लिए इंपोर्ट पर डिपेंडेंट रहेंगे, तब तक कहीं न कहीं हमारी आत्मशक्ति में अधूरापन रहेगा। ये अगर हम अपने हथियार और रक्षा उपकरण विदेशों से खरीदते हैं, तो इसका मतलब है कि हम अपनी सुरक्षा को आउटसोर्स कर रहे हैं और उसे किसी और के भरोसे छोड़ रहे हैं। यह बात लॉन्ग रन में सही नहीं हो सकती। हमारी सरकार ने इस विषय पर गंभीरता से सोचा और आत्मनिर्भरता हासिल करने का निर्णायक कदम भी उठाया है। आप सब तो जानते ही हैं कि देश में पहले से ही ऑर्डिनेंस फैक्ट्रीज का एक इंडिजिनस सिस्टम रहा है और इन फैक्ट्रीज ने एक समय पर बेहतरीन काम किया और देश की सुरक्षा जरूरतों को पूरा करने में बहुत ही अहम भूमिका निभाई भी है। इनके अलावा हमारे पास डिफेंस पीएसयूज का भी एक मजबूत इकोसिस्टम पहले से ही है। हमारी सरकार ने डिफेंस प्रोडक्शन में क्वालिटी और क्वांटिटी दोनों पर समान रूप से बल दिया है। इसी दिशा में कई क्रांतिकारी कदम उठाए गए, जिनमें से कुछ महत्वपूर्ण कदमों का उल्लेख मैं यहां करना चाहूंगा। ऑर्डिनेंस फैक्ट्रीज का कॉर्पोरेटाइजेशन उनमें से एक अत्यंत महत्वपूर्ण कदम रहा है, जिसे हमने इंश्योर किया ताकि कम समय में ही डिफेंस प्रोडक्शन में व्यापक सुधार हो सके। यहां मैं ये जरूर बताना चाहूंगा कि ऑर्डिनेंस फैक्ट्रीज का कॉर्पोरेटाइजेशन हमारे लिए कोई बहुत सरल प्रक्रिया नहीं थी। इसमें अनेक जटिल प्रश्न थे और चैलेंजेज भी थे, परंतु हमने इसे इसलिए लागू किया क्योंकि यह एक अर्जेंट रिफॉर्म था। अब प्रश्न उठता है कि यह अर्जेंट क्यों था। इसका एक बड़ा कारण था क्वालिटी। आप सभी स्पेशलिस्ट के समक्ष मैं यह कह सकता हूं कि सरकार ने क्वालिटी को अपना प्रायोरिटी रिफॉर्म एजेंडा बनाया है। हमने क्वालिटी इंप्रूवमेंट को ही टारगेट करते हुए ऑर्डिनेंस फैक्ट्रीज का कॉर्पोरेटाइजेशन किया। तब से लेकर आज तक डिफेंस पीएसयूज ने लगातार सुधार किया है और कॉर्पोरेटाइजेशन के पश्चात क्वालिटी प्रोडक्शन को लगातार आगे बढ़ाने का प्रयास भी किया गया है और आज ये डीपीएसयूज इंटरनेशनली कॉम्पिटिटिव हो रहे हैं। आज ये अपने रिसर्च एंड डेवलपमेंट पर भी अच्छा फोकस कर रहे हैं। आज ये ऑर्गेनाइजेशन पहले से कहीं ज्यादा वाइब्रेंट और एक्सपोर्ट ओरिएंटेड हो रहे हैं। वैसे तो अभी कुछ कार्य बाकी है, पर मैं इतना जरूर आश्वस्त हूं कि जिस प्रकार पब्लिक सेक्टर में रिफॉर्म के लिए हम प्रयासरत हैं, वह हमें आने वाले समय में काफी अच्छे रिजल्ट्स देने वाला है। साथियों, पब्लिक सेक्टर के डेवलपमेंट के पीछे हमारा एक ही उद्देश्य भी रहा है कि एक हेल्दी कॉम्पिटिटिव प्राइवेट डिफेंस इकोसिस्टम का विकास किया जाए। जो अपनी क्वालिटी के माध्यम से देश की सुरक्षा को और अधिक मजबूत बनाए। जैसा कि हम सभी जानते हैं कि क्वालिटी को लेकर प्राइवेट सेक्टर की अपनी एक अच्छी खासी इमेज होती है। किसी भी क्षेत्र में प्राइवेट सेक्टर अपनी गुणवत्ता के लिए जाना जाता है। आज चाहे बड़े प्लेटफॉर्म्स हों या सिस्टम्स, एमएसएमईज हों या स्टार्टअप्स, हमने ऐसा प्राइवेट इंडस्ट्रियल बेस तैयार किया है जो देश के डिफेंस सेक्टर के विकास में सक्रिय भागीदार बन रहा है और उसे सशक्त कर रहा है। आज रिलीज होने वाले इंडस्ट्री 4 को भी मैं इसी संदर्भ में देख रहा हूं। यह निश्चित रूप से हमें स्मार्ट मैन्युफैक्चरिंग के एक ऐसे एरा में ले जाएगा जहां से हमारे लिए कई नए डायमेंशंस खुलेंगे। इसी तरह जो दूसरे मैनुअल्स आज रिलीज हो रहे हैं हुए हैं, जो एमओयू साइन हुए हैं, उनको भी मैं इसी कंटेक्स्ट में देखता हूं। ये सभी प्रयास केवल सरकार के प्रयास नहीं हैं, बल्कि आप सभी का मिला जुला प्रयास इसमें शामिल है, इसीलिए यह संभव हो पा रहा है। साथियों, जैसा कि आप सभी जानते हैं, आज की दुनिया में सिर्फ प्रोडक्ट नहीं बल्कि एक मजबूत ब्रांड वैल्यू भी जरूरी है। जब मार्केट में असिमेट्रिक इंफॉर्मेशन फैली होती है तब कंज्यूमर भ्रमित हो जाता है, कंफ्यूज हो जाता है। ऐसे में वही ब्रांड सफल होता है जो कंसिस्टेंट क्वालिटी और रिलायबिलिटी का भरोसा देता है। और यही कारण है कि हमें इंडियन डिफेंस इंडस्ट्री को एक स्ट्रांग और ट्रस्टेड ब्रांड बनाना ही होगा। इस संदर्भ में आज मैं आपसे एक महत्वपूर्ण अपील करने के लिए आप सबके बीच खड़ा हुआ हूं। यह अपील है एक मजबूत वर्ल्ड लीडिंग और स्टेट ऑफ द आर्ट ब्रांड इंडिया का निर्माण। ताकि दुनिया की डिफेंस मार्केट में प्रोडक्ट्स को लेकर जब कंट्रीज के मन में डाउट हो तो वह ब्रांड इंडिया को चूज करे। Whenever in doubt, go for India। यह हमारी यूएसपी होनी चाहिए, यही हमारी यूएसपी होनी चाहिए। ब्रांड इंडिया का मतलब है कि अगर किसी इंडियन कंपनी ने कुछ प्रॉमिस किया है तो वो होगा ही होगा, होकर ही रहेगा। किसी प्रोडक्ट की भला फला रेंज तक मारक क्षमता है तो होगा ही होगा, यह भरोसा होना चाहिए। उससे नीचे का तो कोई सवाल ही खड़ा ही नहीं होता। किसी प्रोडक्ट की फला टेम्परेचर तक में काम करने की कैपेसिटी है तो होगी ही होगी, उससे नीचे का तो कोई प्रश्न ही नहीं खड़ा होता। यह होना चाहिए हमारा क्वालिटी एस्योरेंस और ब्रांड इंडिया का भरोसा। और जब हम ऐसा कर पाने में सफल होंगे तभी इंटरनेशनल बायर्स हमें एक ट्रस्टेड सप्लायर के रूप में देखेंगे और कहेंगे डोंट गो फॉर डाउट, गो फॉर इंडिया। साथियों, मैं समझता हूं कि इस दिशा में प्रयास करने का यह सबसे उचित समय है, क्योंकि इस समय जो परिस्थितियां चल रही हैं उसे आप सब देख रहे हैं। हमारे रीजन में ही आज जो स्थितियां उत्पन्न हो रही हैं उससे आप सभी अवगत ही नहीं हैं बल्कि अच्छी तरह परिचित हैं। हमने हमेशा ही एक रिस्पांसिबल नेशन होने का रोल बड़े संयम से निभाया है, सदैव निभाया है। हम लगातार इस बात के पक्ष कर रहे हैं कि समस्याओं का समाधान बातचीत के जरिए से हो, परंतु इसका अर्थ यह नहीं है कि हमारी सहनशीलता का कोई नाजायज फायदा उठाए। यदि कहीं कोई हमारे इस संयम का फायदा उठाने की कोशिश करता है तो उसे कल की तरह ही क्वालिटी कार्रवाई का सामना करने के लिए भी पूरी तरह से तैयार रहना होगा। कल की तरह ही क्वालिटी कार्रवाई का सामना करने के लिए उसे तैयार रहना होगा। भारत की संप्रभुता की सुरक्षा में कोई भी हद हमारे लिए बाधा नहीं बनेगी, इसका मैं देशवासियों को भरोसा देता हूं। मित्रों, ऐसे रिस्पांसिबल रेस्पॉन्सेस के लिए हम आगे भी पूरी तरह से तैयार हैं। और यदि हमारी यह तैयारी बनी हुई है तो इसमें आपका एक बहुत बड़ा रोल है, बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण रोल है। इसके लिए मैं आप सबको बधाई देना चाहता हूं, आप सबकी मैं सराहना करता हूं। भारत का यह एक्सपैंडिंग डिफेंस इंडस्ट्रियल यूनिवर्स, भारत का यह एक्सपैंडिंग डिफेंस इंडस्ट्रियल यूनिवर्स भारत को एक अभूतपूर्व संबल प्रदान कर रहा है। और इसी प्रकार अगर आज के ग्लोबल सिनेरियो पर नजर डालें तो ग्लोबल ऑर्डर में हमें बड़े बड़े चेंजेस देखने को मिल रहे हैं। हमारे सामने कई अनसर्टेन डायमेंशंस ओपन हो रहे हैं। यूरोप से लेकर एशिया तक हर जगह कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स बढ़ते जा रहे हैं। यूक्रेन रशिया कॉन्फ्लिक्ट, इजराइल पैलेस्टीन टेंशन और मिडिल ईस्ट अनरेस्ट ने यह साबित कर दिया है कि ग्लोबल स्टेबिलिटी आज अपने आप में बहुत ही फ्रेजाइल है। अभी पिछले कुछ समय से हमें यूरोपियन यूनियन और नाटो के सिक्योरिटी सिनेरियो में भी काफी हद तक बदलाव देखने को मिल रहा है। जो यूरोपियन यूनियन एक समय पर बड़े स्तर पर नाटो पर डिपेंडेंट था, वही यूरोपियन यूनियन आज बड़े स्तर पर रीअर्मामेंट की ओर तेजी से बढ़ रहा है। जाहिर सी बात है कि जब विकसित देश रीअर्मामेंट की तरफ बढ़ेंगे तो आर्म्स एंड इक्विपमेंट की डिमांड भी स्वाभाविक रूप से बढ़ेगी। बढ़ेगी क्या, बल्कि मैं यह कह सकता हूं कि यह डिमांड लगातार नई ऊंचाइयां छू रही है। हाल ही में मैं स्टॉकहोम इंटरनेशनल पीस रिसर्च इंस्टीट्यूट की एक रिपोर्ट पढ़ रहा था और अभी कुछ दिन पहले उन्होंने एक रिपोर्ट जारी की है और उसी रिपोर्ट में यह बताया गया है कि वर्ल्ड मिलिट्री एक्सपेंडिचर 2024 में 2718 बिलियन डॉलर तक पहुंच गया है, जो अपने आप में मैं समझता हूं कि बहुत बड़ी बात है। यदि मैं और मेरे कहने का अर्थ यह है कि चाहे डोमेस्टिक डिफेंस रिक्वायरमेंट हो या इंटरनेशनल, आज आर्म्स एंड इक्विपमेंट तथा डिफेंस प्रोडक्ट्स की रिक्वायरमेंट पहले से कहीं ज्यादा है। और आपके द्वारा किए जा रहे प्रयासों से इस देश का जो डिफेंस मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सेक्टर है वह ब्रांड इंडिया फिलॉसफी के साथ विश्व में अपना सिक्का जमा सकता है। साथियों, ऐसा नहीं है कि यह बात मैं सिर्फ कहने के लिए कह रहा हूं, हमने पास्ट में ऐसा करके दिखाया है। यदि मैं आंकड़ों की बात करूं तभी 2024-25 के फाइनेंशियल ईयर में हमारा डिफेंस एक्सपोर्ट अप्रॉक्सीमेटली 24,000 करोड़ के रिकॉर्ड आंकड़े को पार कर गया है। और यह हम सबके लिए प्रसन्नता की बात है कि हमने इस लक्ष्य को प्राप्त किया है। लेकिन हमें यहां पर रुकना नहीं है, हमारा लक्ष्य इससे कहीं अधिक बड़ा है और हमने निर्धारित किया है कि 2029 तक डिफेंस एक्सपोर्ट को कि इस आंकड़े को बढ़ाकर हमको 50,000 करोड़ तक ले जाना है। और 2047 तक जब हम पूर्ण विकसित एक डेवलप्ड नेशन के रूप में खड़े होंगे, राष्ट्र बनेंगे, उस समय तब तक तो हमें दुनिया का सबसे बड़ा डिफेंस एक्सपोर्टर बनना है। लक्ष्य बड़ा होना चाहिए, तभी हम कुछ कर सकते हैं। इतने बड़े लक्ष्य की प्राप्ति के लिए बेहद जरूरी है कि हम अपने डिफेंस इक्विपमेंट की क्वालिटी को लेकर पूरी दुनिया में एक ट्रस्ट डेवलप करें, लोगों का दिल जीतें, लोगों का भरोसा जीतें। डिफेंस इक्विपमेंट का एक्सपोर्ट करने से पहले हमें इस ट्रस्ट को एक्सपोर्ट करना पड़ेगा। डिफेंस इक्विपमेंट का एक्सपोर्ट करने से पहले हमें उस ट्रस्ट को एक्सपोर्ट करना पड़ेगा, तभी यह होगा। साथियों, उसके लिए हमें क्वालिटी को लेकर किसी पर्टिकुलर डिपार्टमेंट की रिस्पांसिबिलिटी या प्रोडक्शन प्रोसेस के स्टेज तक ही सीमित करके नहीं देखना होगा, बल्कि क्वालिटी हमारी गाइडिंग फिलॉसफी होनी चाहिए, हमारा यह कल्चर होना चाहिए जो डिफेंस मैन्युफैक्चरिंग में शामिल हर डिसीजन, हर डिजाइन और हर प्रोसेस और हर इंडिविजुअल तक अपना इन्फ्लुएंस रखे। हमारा पूरा डिफेंस इकोसिस्टम तभी मजबूत हो सकता है जब हम क्वालिटी बेंचमार्क्स को गंभीरता से लेंगे। मुझे देखकर भी खुशी होती है कि आप लोगों ने क्वालिटी के महत्व को पहचाना है, समझा है, और जिस डेडिकेशन के साथ और जिस विचार के साथ आप क्वालिटी इंप्रूवमेंट पर ध्यान दे रहे हैं, वह निश्चित रूप से आने वाले समय में भारत के डिफेंस मैन्युफैक्चरिंग को एक नई ऊंचाइयों तक ले जाएगा, ऐसा मेरा पक्का विश्वास है। साथियों, वैसे तो आप सभी क्वालिटी इंप्रूवमेंट की दिशा में बहुत अच्छा काम कर रहे हैं, लेकिन जाते जाते मैं अपनी तरफ से कुछ सुझाव भी आप लोगों को देना चाहूंगा। आप सब तो जानते ही हैं, आज के जमाने में आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस और डिजिटल टेक्नोलॉजी की भूमिका कितनी बढ़ गई है, कितनी महत्वपूर्ण हो गई है। इसलिए आपको इस बात पर भी ध्यान देना होगा कि रियल टाइम क्वालिटी मॉनिटरिंग के लिए हम किस तरह से आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस, इंटरनेट ऑफ थिंग्स और मशीन लर्निंग जैसे टूल्स का प्रयोग कर सकते हैं। साथ ही साथ इवॉल्विंग ग्लोबल टेक्नोलॉजीज के साथ अलाइन करते हुए हमें अपने जो स्टैंडर्ड्स और टेस्टिंग प्रोटोकॉल्स को भी अपडेट करते रहना होगा। हमें टाइम बाउंड क्वालिटी एश्योरेंस क्लियरेंसेस पर भी ध्यान देना होगा, ताकि किसी प्रोजेक्ट को लेकर अनवांटेड डिले देखने को न मिले। साथियों, मेरा यह भी मानना है कि हमारी क्वालिटी असेसमेंट एजेंसीज को अपनी डेफिशिएंसीज पर भी हमेशा ध्यान रखना चाहिए और किस प्रकार इन डेफिशिएंसीज को मॉडर्नाइजेशन और टेस्टिंग इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के डेवलपमेंट के द्वारा दूर किया जाए, उस पर भी कार्य करते रहना चाहिए, ऐसा मेरा सुझाव है। और इस प्रकार नीश टेक्नोलॉजी के क्षेत्र में लगातार गैप एनालिसिस करते रहना एक आवश्यक कदम होगा। डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ डिफेंस प्रोडक्शन और भारत सरकार आपके साथ कदम से कदम मिलाकर चलने के लिए तैयार है और हम आपके फीडबैक का भी स्वागत करेंगे। और सिक्योरिटी डिफेंस प्रोडक्शन के रूप में भी, संजीव कुमार के रूप में भी एक डायनेमिक आपको सिक्योरिटी भी मिला है, यह भी सौभाग्य की बात है। जो क्रोधित नहीं होते बल्कि मुस्कुराते ही रहते हैं, चाहे चैलेंज कितना भी बड़ा हो। और साथियों, हम आपके फीडबैक का भी स्वागत करेंगे। मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि हम सब मिलकर क्वालिटी असेसमेंट और क्वालिटी एश्योरेंस के आपके प्रयासों को और गति प्रदान करेंगे। मुझे इस बात का भी पूरा विश्वास है, जब हम सब मिलकर प्रयास करेंगे तो निश्चित रूप से भारत ग्लोबल डिफेंस मार्केट के की प्लेयर के रूप में इमर्ज होकर ही रहेगा। यही आज की हमारी कॉन्क्लेव के थीम की प्रासंगिकता है। मैं आप सभी का आभार व्यक्त करता हूं कि आपने इतने रेलेवेंट टॉपिक पर इस कॉन्क्लेव का आयोजन किया। इस इनिशिएटिव्स के लिए आप सभी बधाई के पात्र हैं और इस कॉन्क्लेव की सफलता के लिए मैं हार्दिक शुभकामनाएं देते हुए अपना निवेदन समाप्त करता हूं।
So there you briefly heard Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh also hail the precision strikes during Operation Sindoor. We will talk about that and much more in just a bit after a very quick break. Keep watching.
Mahi sir.
I'm just interrupting you. Apologies for that. We've got some big breaking updates coming in. Exactly what we were discussing is the confirmation that is coming on CNN News 18 now that today morning Indian armed forces have targeted air defense radars and systems at a number of locations in Pakistan. The Indian response has been the same domain and same intensity as Pakistan's. It has been reliably learned that an air defense system at Lahore has been neutralized. Pakistan has increased the intensity of its unprovoked firing across the line of control, using mortars and heavy caliber artillery in areas like Kupwara, Baramulla, Uri, Poonch, Mendar and Rajouri sectors in Jammu and Kashmir. 16 innocent lives have been lost, including 3 women and 5 children. Here too, India was compelled to respond to bring mortar and artillery fire from Pakistan to a halt. Indian armed forces reiterate their commitment to non-escalation, provided it is respected by the Pakistani military. My colleague Akash is joining us on this. So finally, the confirmation coming in from the Indian armed forces, Akash.
Yes, in fact, we were discussing that how, there is input that how the AD system of Pakistan has been restored, and now we are getting confirmation from the forces that how Pakistan tried to engage with the military infrastructure in different areas, in the areas that you rightly mentioned, Awantipura, Srinagar, Jammu, and in fact Amritsar. Punjab area. Several military infrastructures, were targeted, but our AD system thwarted these attempts, and in retaliation, Indian Armed Forces basically carried out these strikes where their radars and their AD system. We were talking about HQ-9, in fact, and now we are getting a confirmation that in our retaliation, Indian Armed Forces have successfully destroyed their air defense system and in fact their radars, their several radars. And this was in retaliation. It was categorically mentioned in the press conference,
where a briefing was held for the Operation Sindoor, that we are not going to escalate it further, but if Pakistan will try to attack us or attack our establishment, infrastructure, then we will retaliate, and there would be a strong retaliation. And this is what is a strong retaliation, where the Indian Armed Forces have destroyed their AD system and in fact their radars that were very much placed, in locations close to border. In fact, one system in Lahore, has been destroyed.
The statement says it has been reliably learnt that an air defense system at Lahore has been neutralized. Exactly some of the updates that we were getting earlier via sources. It has now been confirmed. And Akash, it's important to note, we are reading out that Ministry of Defence press release. The headline of that press.
Welcome back. Returning with big breaking news update coming in. Do remember, we've spoken of the military retaliation on part of the Indian Armed Forces after the late night attempt by the Pakistan Army to target 15 military installations in India. Now, defense sources have informed that this was for the first time that S-400 and Akash were used in an operation. Both hard kill and soft kill technologies employed against Pakistani drones. That's the first bit of breaking news update we're flashing for you. Furthermore, we're also learning that it was Air Force stations that were primarily targeted by Pakistan. I do want to go across to Akash. I beg your pardon, Akash. First things first, tell us about S-400s and Akash, both defense systems put to use for the very first time.
Right, S-400 is a Russian system. We have got 3 regiments of it, and these 3 regiments are in fact placed at different places within India. I was mentioning, I know that we cannot reveal the exact locations, or we cannot put out the exact location, but then for the western border, for the northern border and for the eastern borders, all 3 batteries, in fact the regiments have been deployed, and 2 are still with Russia, and we will be getting the deliveries of these 2 by this year. Also Akash, as far as Akash is concerned, so it is our indigenous air defense system, where we have short range surface to air missile, and both Air Force and Indian Army are using it. We have been told that these systems were used against the drones and the missiles that came from Pakistan last night, in fact early in the morning today. And these systems were very effective against these missiles and drones, because we did not have any one miss. And this is the reason why Rajnath Singh is in fact saying that it all depends on high quality system that you have employed. India has been working on indigenization. We know that how we have been inducting several sort of platform, and Akash is one prime example where both the Indian Army and Indian Air Force are using. I want to remind you, Kritsween, there was one exercise going in, Rajasthan. At that time, Akash was basically used, and it was put out that how Akash successfully engaged the targets. At that time, in fact, Pakistani handles, created, in fact, propagated this theory that Akash system got failed and did not, engage any sort of target. But now this is the prime example. In one active operation, Akash has successfully downed your missiles and targets, and not just Akash but S-400 as well. For the first time, these in fact missile systems were used. Also, defense sources are telling us that as far as these drones are concerned, so we were using both soft kill and hard kill technologies. Soft kill means we were using spoofing and jamming, where we were not letting these drones to come into our territory and hit the exact target.
Okay.
Also, as far as hard kill technologies are concerned, so we were using several handheld devices. In fact, Kritsween, several handheld devices were in fact used. This is what officers are telling us, and in fact this was indeed a successful operation by the Indian agencies, given the fact that Indian Air Force has got the charge of air defense at this point in time. Though Indian Army and Indian Air Force both have got their assets, but at such a time, a crucial time, during wars or during operations like such, Indian Air Force takes the charge of the air defense, and in this particular case, air defense played a major role.
Oh yes, a major role in giving major success to the Indian Armed Forces. Thank you for that, Akash. On that note, I do want to go across to Lieutenant General D.P. Pandey, who continues to stay on with us. Thank you for your patience. I couldn't take this from Akash, but we're also learning that it was Air Force stations that were the primary target of Pakistan. And correct me if I'm wrong, but Adampur, Avantipur, Bathinda, Ambala, Jammu, Pathankot, Udhampur, all these 15 locations, I believe, have significant Air Force stations, sir.
Yeah. Firstly, they got assets which are there, starting from air defense assets which pick up how the moment the Pakistani aircrafts take off or their drones take off. They got long range radar system, they got short range radar system, they got missile systems to deter them, plus they got fixed wing and rotary wing assets which are there to deter any movement and to respond any air intrusion attempts which will take off from the Pakistani air bases. So they are all very high value assets which will be always be the first target if some mischief has to be planned by an enemy. And of course, as they are slightly more distinctive and much more easier to target because they are big, and any proximity attack will be a success. They follow a system of notion of victory, you know. Even if there's a bomb which drops about a couple of miles away, they'll go all hammer and tongs claiming victory that they've achieved success to beat our system. So they're very, very valuable targets. They've gone for the right ones.
Okay. Okay, Lieutenant General Pandey, I'm running out of time, but I do want to ask you a question, and 30 seconds is all I have. Why did we desist from targeting these very terror hubs in 2016 and 2019? Perhaps we would have not been in a situation, and who knows, maybe we would have still been given our neighbor and the notoriety that comes with it, but perhaps not. 15 stations would not have been targeted by Pakistan if these terror hubs were taken down earlier.
Yeah, well, that is one part. You see, when you correct an errant child earlier on, then the behavior starts changing early on. I think maybe we didn't have all these systems, we required them. So I'm not a political this way or that way person, but the bottom line is that Indian forces did not have those systems to reach out and punish and touch. So I just wanted to close on one facet. The strategic depth which the Pakistan was looking has now been clearly told to them you don't have from the eastern side and on the west, with the Afghanistan looking at them very, very negatively. That issue which they were always trying for is gone. So physically, kinetically, we can touch Rawalpindi to anywhere we want to in this country, and that's a very big message which goes on. You can't hide anywhere when you touch us. And you may have Jaish-e-Mohammed. I must say that maybe we learned the lesson from the Americans by the landing which took place in Ahmedabad and these recent warfares which are happening. But great kudos to the armed forces, to DRDO, to the whole ecosystem which has empowered the nation to be able to give punishment where it's required to be meted. You just can't hide anywhere in Pakistan and not be touched by us.
Oh yes, kudos to armed forces, and that's one thing that's being spoken of and being hailed by each and every Indian. Lieutenant General Pandey, I appreciate you joining us on the broadcast. Thank you so much for sharing all those insightful thoughts. With that, viewers, I want to shift our attention to this exclusive conversation. CNN News 18 spoke to AIMIM chief Asaduddin Owaisi, who's hit out at Pakistan and has called out the fake propaganda of the neighboring nation, has also demanded action for innocents being targeted along LOC. I'll leave you with this reaction. Listen in.
You came to this all-party meeting today. What was the sense that you were able to get from the government?
I mean, the sense was that the government had invited all major political parties, and everyone more or less were on the same wavelength. That is that everyone had complimented the armed forces for undertaking the Operation Sindoor, and that was the overall sense.
The government obviously did not want to give too many details because it's an ongoing operation. Do you think that we'll have more ammunition against Pakistan now?
See, it's not a question of more ammunition. It is a question of how long do we allow Pakistan to bleed Indians. You know, that is the main question. And if one assumes that after doing Operation Sindoor, the Pakistan-based terrorist organization which are supported by the establishment will not undertake another cowardly attack. If anyone assumes that, he's living in a cuckoo's land. So that is why I feel that this terrorism which emanates from Pakistan just to destabilize the country, and what has been rightly said by the Foreign Secretary yesterday, that one of the main intention is to create more Hindu-Muslim friction, which Alhamdulillah they were unsuccessful after that barbaric massacre which happened in Pahalgam.
सस्ते वाले
I'm just interrupting you. Apologies for that. We've got some big breaking updates coming in. Exactly what we were discussing is the confirmation that is coming on CNN News 18 now that today morning Indian armed forces have targeted air defense radars and systems at a number of locations in Pakistan. The Indian response has been the same domain and same intensity as Pakistan's. It has been reliably learned that an air defense system at Lahore has been neutralized. Pakistan has increased the intensity of its unprovoked firing across the line of control, using mortars and heavy caliber artillery in areas like Kupwara, Baramulla, Uri, Poonch, Mendar and Rajouri sectors in Jammu and Kashmir. 16 innocent lives have been lost, including 3 women and 5 children. Here too, India was compelled to respond to bring mortar and artillery fire from Pakistan to a halt. Indian armed forces reiterate their commitment to non-escalation, provided it is respected by the Pakistani military. My colleague Akash is joining us on this. So finally, the confirmation coming in from the Indian armed forces, Akash.
Yes, in fact, we were discussing that how, there is input that how the AD system of Pakistan has been destroyed, and now we are getting confirmation from the forces that how Pakistan tried to engage with the military infrastructure in different areas, in the areas that you rightly mentioned, Awantipura, Srinagar, Jammu, and in fact, Amritsar, Punjab area. Several military infrastructures, were targeted, but our AD system thwarted these attempts, and in retaliation, Indian armed forces basically carried out these strikes where their radars and their AD system. We were talking about HQ-9, in fact, and now we are getting a confirmation that in a retaliation, Indian armed forces have successfully destroyed their air defense system and in fact their radars, their several radars. And this was in retaliation. It was categorically mentioned in the press conference, where a briefing was held for the Operation Sindoor, that we are not going to escalate it further, but if Pakistan will try to attack us or attack our establishment, infrastructure, then we will retaliate, and there would be a strong retaliation. And this is what is a strong retaliation, where the Indian armed forces have destroyed their AD system and in fact their radars that were very much placed, in locations close to border. In fact, one system in Lahore, has been destroyed.
The statement says it has been reliably learnt that an air defense system at Lahore has been neutralized. Exactly some of the updates that we were getting earlier via sources. It has now been confirmed. And Akash, it's important to note, we are reading out that Ministry of Defence press release. The headline of that press release says Pakistan's bid to escalate negated and proportionate response by India. So the bid to escalate is a very important phrase being used by the Indian government here.
Shivani, in fact, it was categorically mentioned, in the briefing of Operation Sindoor. I was highlighting it, that how the attack, in fact, the operation, that was carried out, day before yesterday, the night, it was, because of the fact that Pakistan did not take any sort of action against the terrorists who were behind the Pahalgam attack, and that's why, it was required. No civilian, infrastructure or no military infrastructure was targeted. It was clear that we just don't want escalation, but we will of course avenge what you did with our civilians, our tourists.
Okay,
and after that,
Akash, 1 second. Sorry to interrupt you there. I want to read out a very, very important part of this press release. On the night of 7-8 May 2025, Pakistan attempted to engage a number of military targets in northern and western India including Avantipura, Srinagar, Jammu, Pathankot, Amritsar, Kapurthala, Jalandhar, Ludhiana, Adampur, Bhatinda, Chandigarh, Nal, Falodi, Uttarlai and Bhuj. Can you imagine? This is almost entire borderline of India with Pakistan, from Jammu and Kashmir to Gujarat. Using drones and missiles, they were neutralized by the integrated counter UAS grid and air defense systems. The debris of these attacks is now being recovered from a number of locations that prove the Pakistani attacks. Let me quickly get in our guests as well. Sushant, this is exactly what we were talking about. And the confirmation has come from the Indian military. From Jammu and Kashmir to Bhuj, they have attempted this nonsense across the international border.
Yeah, Shivani, but this is exactly what I was telling you before this news broke. Because, till now, until this press release came out, we were all, groping around trying to find out what the hell's happening. Because there were all kinds of accounts and all kinds of reports floating around, and you literally have to piece them together to make sense of what might be happening. But having some idea of what, the Indian thinking is, I was very clear in my mind that as far as the Indians were concerned, we did not, we were not going to, go provoke a war. We had done what we wanted to do, which was very clear from the first statement of the Foreign Secretary. Later on, if the Pakistanis tried something, and the fact that, and I was not aware that it from Bhuj to all the way to Avantipura, they were trying to do this kind of a stuff. But quite clearly, if they tried to do something, they were trying to either probe our defenses, strike a few places, then claim victory and say that, look, we did this and we targeted their military units, and they thought they would get away with it. Clearly, they haven't. And in response, we have also hit, from the Pakistani accounts, we've hit something like 9 places. And quite clearly, it seems to have had much more of an impact, because one, those attacks were mostly during, the early hours of the day. In fact, while sun had come out. So they were photographed. There are crowds out there. People can see what the hell is happening. There are footages of kamikaze drones hitting some of their AD targets. So all kinds of things have been happening.
No, again, Sushant, I think Sushant, let's cut to the chase. India is saying they attempt.
Namaste, Jai Hind. Thank you for staying with us in our continuous rolling coverage. We are now going to focus. We are expecting a Foreign Secretary briefing that is Vikram Misri's briefing at about 5:30 p.m. It's been an eventful last 24 hours, and much of Bharat has not been aware of what's been going on. There's a lot that the Pakistani military has tried to do, and this came to light through this open communication that was released by the Press Information Bureau, the PIB. Clearly, it's been vetted by the Foreign Ministry and also the military sources to confirm what has actually happened. Let's try and understand Pakistan's bid. So the title itself is important. Raul Shivshankar is there with us in the studio. Let's try and understand this line by line, word by word, and then we'll go across to the graphical representation of also how Bharat has not only pummeled and punched the Pakistanis, but it's the second day of shame for General Asim Munir. It's a second day of shame. First, 9 targets, 21 packages dropped, terror infrastructure demolished, not so far away from critical military installations in Pakistan and across the length and breadth of Pakistan, and the Pak army could do nothing. Second day, the Pakistanis tried to escalate. That's the headline. Pakistan's bid to escalate negated. Proportionate response by India. So what was the bid to escalate? Let's try and focus on the bid to escalate as we read this very, very carefully, one by one. Let's read this. I'm going to just come down to the statement. Now, this is what I said. India had called its response as focused, measured and non-escalatory. This word non-escalatory is critical. Non-escalatory is critical, but what has happened thereafter is this, that Pakistan attempted to engage number of military targets in Avantipura, Srinagar, Jammu, Pathankot, Kapurthala, Jalandhar, Ludhiana, Nal Falodi, Uttarlai and Bhuj. So let's try and understand and look at this. These are the targets that Pakistan tried to attack over the night, intervening night of 7th and 8th of May. So I'm just coming back here. This is what is written here on the statement. The statement says the intervening night of 7th and 8th of May. 7th and 8th of May. This is the intervening night, and these are the locations. So we've tried to plot that here on the map. Avantipura, Srinagar, Jammu, Pathankot, Amritsar, Chandigarh, Jalandhar, Bathinda, Nal, Uttarlai and Falodi, and also Bhuj in Gujarat. So all of these they have tried to target. Rahul Shivshankar, if you look at these locations, and I'm just going to come around here and say, let's come to this in a bit. All of these are across the international border. So in this, the Pakistan military has tried to target these cities, 15 cities, and critical military installations in these 15 cities. So this is a massive escalation that they have attempted.
And against the Indian armed forces, which is something that constitutes not a proportionate response. Remember that India has made it very, very clear on day one itself that we never targeted any of their military targets. We were only focused on their terror infrastructure which was created by, according to the Pakistanis, non-state actors, as they had claimed. And the Pakistanis have decided that both civilian and military targets are fair game on the Indian side. So this constitutes really, in a sense, a diabolical attempt at escalating, and it is certainly not proportionate, because one is completely illegal. The other one, of course, was which is India's attempt at taking out terror targets which are non-state actors. Some of those actors are, of course, on UNSC sanctions list. So it was a legitimate pursuit. This one is completely illegitimate. It constitutes a massive act of war, actually, against India.
So this was that it was focused. So Bharat is saying that we were focused, measured and non-escalatory. Pakistan attempts to engage number of military targets in northern and western India. And what does Bharat do? These were neutralized by the integrated counter UAS grid and air defense systems. The debris of these attacks is now being recovered from a number of locations to prove the Pakistani attacks. So the Pakistanis have done this, it is proven. But more importantly, Rahul, this is also testament that the S-400 missile defense systems, the UAS grid, has been put to test and it has withstood the assault of the Pakistani military.
Absolutely, I don't think there's any doubt about that. The fact of the matter is that the Indian armed forces have responded in a absolutely professional and extremely confidence enhancing way. I mean, every Indian citizen today, and we're going to probably hear a lot more about this in just a little while, because in about 25 minutes we're going to have
and we've got the details. So briefing. It's going to be those who did the briefing on the first day at the NMC. The Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri is going to be there. Colonel Sophia Qureshi, Wing Commander Vyomika Singh will be there, and so will the MEA spokesperson Randhir Jaiswal.
So can I just jog your memory back to Kargil? You know, every evening there used to be a briefing, every day there used to be a briefing during Kargil. We're back in that. Now, that was a conflict. Are we back in conflict zone? That's the fundamental question.
No, not just the conflict, but in this case, who's done the escalation? Zaka Jacob joining us live. Zaka, who is responsible for this escalation? And again, India sticking to this thing. The communication is clear, and it's the same group, including and plus Randhir Jaiswal now, who did the initial briefing.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the same members as yesterday. It's going to have the Foreign Secretary who will lead the briefing, and the two young women officers, Wing Commander Singh and Colonel Qureshi. Both of them will be part of today's briefing as well. And I think you're right, this is going to likely be a daily feature until this whole escalated situation starts coming down. So we can show those pictures from the National Media Center as well, where the name placards have been put out of both Wing Commander Singh and Colonel Qureshi, the two women officers who were there on day one, who gave us the briefing about Operation Sindoor. This will now be a continuing feature. We had this when Kargil was happening. So I think the sense is that this is not just a one-off operation. You heard from the Defence Minister some time back, where he said to the all-party meeting and then subsequently as well, that Operation Sindoor is an ongoing operation. So on day one, it was, you know, your fighter jets that went in, the 9 locations that were targeted. On night 2, which we are now getting more and more details of, it was drone warfare. It was complete drone warfare, both from the Pakistani and the Indian side. The Indian side in retaliation targeting some of the major cities across
Let's talk
Pakistan.
about that now. Now, stay with us, Zaka. Rahul Shankar also there. We'll go to Akash in just a bit. Let's just focus on why this briefing is happening, because this is after this note that was put out. What did Bharat do? Intervening night of 7th and 8th, the Pakistanis tried to attack 15 of our locations, our cities, Bharat cities, and military targets there. That's what it says. Military targets across 15 locations were targeted. I'm just going to repeat, see this again. Number of military targets in northern and western India, including these cities. So at least 15 have been mentioned there. What happens there? Today morning, this is the confirmation. Today morning, Indian Armed Forces targeted air defense and radar systems, air defense radar and systems at a number of locations in Pakistan. So which are the locations in Pakistan? Let's look at the Pakistan locations. These are the 9 locations that were attacked or that was struck, where terror infrastructure was struck on day 1, 7th morning, 8th. The locations include Rawalpindi, locations include Lahore, locations include Karachi, location include Sialkot. So there are all military installations that were directly targeted. The Pakistanis claim to have neutralized some of the drones, but Bharat has been able to hit, and there are pictures to confirm this, Rahul Shivshankar, Rawalpindi, Sialkot, Lahore and Karachi.
Absolutely. In fact, even Rawalpindi and most of these cities, Sialkot, and just look at the spread of them actually. So nothing is off grid as far as India is concerned. We have touched every hot button, all the main principles. I mean, Lahore today is defenseless. It doesn't have its air defense systems have been neutralized. It's open from the air, even as we speak. It's going to be a sleepless night for a large number of Lahoris tonight, I can tell you that. And one of their MPs, if you heard today in Parliament, was saying, save us from India's wrath. We need all the help we can get, all the divine intervention we can get. There is panic on the streets of Lahore. There's panic in their parliament. There's panic in the military establishment. This is Munir losing face and fight for the second day.
Yeah, it is. And Akash is joining us, and with this line, viewers, watch this line. Indian response has been in the same domain with the same intensity as Pakistan. So this is also an important message, Akash, that Bharat does not want escalation. Now, and if you look at the last line of this statement also, marry that with the Indian response with this line. The commitment to non-escalation provided it is respected by the Pakistani military. So the Indian response the same as that of Pakistan, intensity of Pakistan, and now it's up to the Pakistan military and the Pakistan establishment whether they want to escalate it further. India will respond in the equal measure with same intensity. That's the official stated position now, Akash.
Right, Anand, even now, Indian Armed Forces have not targeted their military base, and in fact their brigade centers or their, civilian population or the infrastructure. They tried to destroy our air defense systems. We have destroyed their air defense system. In fact, Akash Tir system, which is our air defense reporting and control system, was very much employed for the missiles and drones that were coming from Pakistan, Anand. And I want to tell you that S-400 and Akash did a commendable job, because officers are telling us that not even one hit was successful and they could not hit even one of our property. And this is a big success for Indian Armed Forces, and that's the reason why Rajnath Singh reiterated that quality is important. Pakistan is using HQ-9, and we have seen in the past that how its performance is discussed widely on social media, how effective this system is. And that's the reason why this statement from Raksha Mantri is very important. Also, Anand, drones and missiles came from Pakistan. We have been told that both hard kill and soft kill technologies were used. Spoofing and jamming was also used. Handheld devices were also used, we have been told. And while on one hand we were targeting these drones and missiles via soft kill, that means that we were navigating, we were trying to disturb their GPS, we were trying to send them to the other direction. We had also this hard kill system where we were targeting these missiles and drone to destroy them.
Right. So when you say we, you mean the Indian Armed Forces. So the Indian Armed Forces and the Indian forces were the ones who were working towards either a soft kill, that is to disturb the entire trajectory and to confuse the drones or the loitering munitions, or to destroy them altogether. Akash, but this message seems to be very, very clear. Rahul, from Bharat, the message very, very clear. We don't want to escalate. You make a move, we will try and do the same, and we'll do it better than you.
Absolutely. Look, we stopped them and we hit them. It's very simple, three words on each side. But the fact is that our response has always been proportionate. Pakistan's first misadventure, which took place overnight yesterday after a lot of, as you know, ballistic speeches that they made, including their Prime Minister in the address to the nation, vowing all sorts of retribution, has actually escalated it beyond proportionality. India struck terror targets. They were trying to strike our Indian state. And in particular, we were told that the targets that were chosen along some of those Jammu, Pathankot, etc., and Srinagar were air bases. So quite clearly, Pakistan wanted to degrade our ability to launch attacks and also, of course, intercept.
Because the first target of sending these loitering munitions, Akash is still with us. What was the Pakistani military intent? To try and reduce our air patrolling ability, air monitoring ability by attacking the military installations, or were certain air bases, airstrips also under target? Because that is further level of escalation, Akash.
Right, so I have been told that air bases were the primary target, and also they wanted to destroy our air defense systems. Yes, air bases and air defense systems. These two were the primary targets. And look at the cities, Anand. In almost every city, we have got our Air Force station. In all these cities, almost we have our Air Force station or some sort of radar station. So they were targeting our radar systems, air defense systems, and also the air bases.
That is serious escalation, Rahul Shivshankar. Despite that, if Bharat is saying that we continue to remain non-escalatory in nature, and that the response has been in the same domain with the same intensity as Pakistan, for them to come back and say this is a huge amount of restraint. This is a huge amount of restraint. Hope the international world is also looking at this.
Absolutely.
This restraint, this commitment to non-escalation, provided it is respected by the Pakistani military.
In fact, this map, what we need to actually do is, if you want to show how we have matched them toe to toe, their escalation toe to toe, we'd have to show obviously cities like Lahore.
Now here is the thing on this map. The issue is that the Pakistani media has confirmed that there is something that's happened in Lahore, something that's happened in Karachi, there's something that happened in Rawalpindi, and there's something that happened in Sialkot. But from Bharat, there is no confirmation of the total number of locations. We are also making this educated assumption that 15 locations, because toe to toe, match to match, like to like, 15 locations will be there. Let's see if in this forthcoming briefing at 5:35 there is an explanation of the total number of locations that were targeted or military targets.
Let me just tell you that there is quite a respected handle on Twitter called Death Refsa, and this one is followed by almost just about anyone who has a deep and abiding interest in defense matters. This suggests that India has struck in a number of targets in Pakistan, in fact, and I just want to quickly bring that up. There's Attock, Rawalpindi, Chakwal, Gujranwala, Lahore, Walton, Bahawalpur, Maine, Karachi and Chor. So all along, apart from just the LOC, down the IB.
You read about 10 locations where the Pakistani air bases are or their air defense systems are?
About 9, 10.
10 of them.
Yes.
So those are the 10 that is being claimed again by relevant or reliable social media handles of people who have been tracking defense for a while.
These are both drone and missile attacks.
Drone and missile, but we have to wait and see whether or not the government comes out and officially claims this when that operational briefing happens in just about 20 minutes from now. Let's going across to more news coming through, and we'll have Zaka Jacob joining us with more inputs. Manoj Kumar Gupta getting us some sensational inside details of the operational planning by Bharat of Operation Sindoor. Attacker planes masked in the exercise with air missiles were locked. This operation was masked under an air exercise, and NOTAM was issued for 48 hours for air exercise. Zaka Jacob joins us with more. So there is a lot of camouflage or smoke screens that were created with the Prime Minister's engagements, with the Waves Festival, and a lot of the other engagements showing all is well, it's normal. Perhaps the biggest bogey was the mock drill, but even the exercise, the attack itself was planned to the T.
If you remember, the night before Operation Sindoor happened, a NOTAM was issued all across the western border from Gujarat to Rajasthan to Punjab, basically saying there are these air exercises that are going to happen on the 7th and 8th, and therefore, no civilian flights can traverse through that airspace. Now, when a NOTAM is usually issued, what happens is the civilian aircraft have no access to that airspace, and the military aircraft which are in that airspace, they get masked. So this was issued, and it was issued as a routine affair, saying that, look, there are going to be these air exercises on the 7th and 8th. So the Pakistanis mistook that for something being planned for the 7th and 8th. This was issued about a couple of hours before Operation Sindoor was undertaken, a little past midnight on the intervening night between the 6th and the 7th. Now, what the Indian Air Force managed to do was, while this NOTAM was issued, ISRO's Cartosat as well as EMISAT, both of them gave precision maps, satellite images of Bahawalpur. Now, Bahawalpur is the biggest strike. There were multiple strikes that happened inside Bahawalpur. They got these precision geolocations of this seminary, the markers that was hit inside Bahawalpur, the biggest of the lot. They got these geospatial locations while this NOTAM had been issued. What they also managed to separately do was scramble up some MiG-29s close to Amritsar. So what that did was the attention of the Pakistanis shifted to Lahore and why the MiGs were being scrambled in Amritsar. While the attention there was diverted to what's happening in the Amritsar-Lahore, that belt, that sector, what the aircraft that was sent up by the Indian Air Force on this side, it locked in Bahawalpur and it sent missiles, and they hit those locations in Bahawalpur, basically penetrating the Pakistani air defense system, because there was a decoy that had already been raised in the Amritsar-Lahore belt. So this is, as each day passes by, we're getting more and more details about how this operation was highly deceptive in nature, because you don't get to, hit these level of multiple locations, 9 different locations, 21 different strikes, without creating this kind of deception for the enemy. So this is one part of the story, and I'm sure there are much more that will come out over the next few days as to how the Indian Air Force, in a multi-location, multi-strike operation, was able to deceive the enemy by creating these smoke screens. In this particular instance, the smoke screen was the MiG-29s being scrambled in the Amritsar sector, and that helped them neutralize the Pakistani air defense and hit Bahawalpur. And of course, from whatever we're seeing from Pakistan, the reaction and all of that, the two biggest strikes were one in Bahawalpur, the other in Muridke.
Now, what a big shift, or what a big rise in the air capability of Bharat between 2015, 2017 to 2019 to 2025 to be able to achieve this level of success and penetration, and what planning. So there is credit that is due to the NSA Ajit Doval, because this entire exercise was under his stewardship, his leadership, under the guidance and direction, of course, of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Now, Bharat has thwarted Pakistan's attempts where all? Jammu and Kashmir, Avantipura, Srinagar, Jammu. In Punjab, there is Pathankot, Amritsar, Kapurthala, Jalandhar, Ludhiana, then Adampur, Batinda, Chandigarh. In Rajasthan, in Nal, Falodi, Uttarlai, and in Gujarat, it is Bhuj. So Pakistan has tried pan-state or multi-state across the IB, across the international border, 15 locations. And the air defense systems are the UAD grid. Bharat's UAD grid has been able to neutralize all these threats, Rahul. That shows how effective the S-400 missile defense system is, and the improved capabilities of the Indian forces today to defend our territory.
I just want to jog your memory back to 2 nights back, before we struck. There was a big meeting, if you remember, between all chief ministers and the Union Home Minister. Chief ministers of all borderline states, including, of course, Uttar Pradesh, if you remember, which is the border of Nepal. And a large number of, speculations sort of emerged as to what those meetings were about. Now we can understand that it was obviously giving the message down that you need to be very, very, very cautious and extremely preemptive in the manner you're responding. Clearly, the Indian intelligence establishment had an inkling that if they were going to go into the various sites that they struck on Sindoor Day 1, it was quite clear that they were expecting reprisals down the entire chain of all border states. So there was definitely
so Sindoor, let's try and understand this. If Sindoor went right up from Muzaffarabad down up to Bahawalpur here,
right up there.
So Bahawalpur here. So this is the entire length and breadth that tracked.
Yes.
So Pakistan has tried to say we will try and match that on this side of the border, but Pakistan does not have terror camps or terror infrastructure to target on Indian soil. So what they have done is target established military targets. There are two parts to my next question to you, Rahul, and your thoughts here. One, the level of escalation that's been pushed by General Asim Munir. Should not the world take cognizance of what the Pakistanis have done? And should the world might not come on trying to press this crazy general down, because he is taking his country into a path of no return. That's one. Secondly, it's 2 days of 2 nights of shame for Asim Munir. He is a failure as a Pak army general. So shouldn't the people of Pakistan reject him outright? Shouldn't the military establishment turn around and say enough is enough, out you go?
You know, obviously it's never good to tempt fate, and may that be the case, that there are 5, 7, 10 nights of reversals for Pakistan. One just hopes that it just takes one, as you know, to get through, to create damage. So triumphalism eschewing that, yes, there is already you're beginning to see a lot of discontent on the ground in Pakistan. We've got videos after videos, a lot we can't show you, viewers, because some of them are very abusive content. People like Munir, the leadership, Shehbaz, etc., Shehbaz Sharif, that is the Prime Minister, being abused on the streets of Pakistan in different cities. And there is a genuine feeling, even in the National Assembly, there are several voices now that are actually asking the leadership, what are you doing? You are throwing us to the wolves. India is a superior power. Please don't do this. We are going to regret it. The stock exchange, where you measure sentiment really, melted. The Karachi Stock Exchange melted, and as you know, the day's trading had to be suspended. 7.5% down.
Yeah, and the trading was halted. The markets were shut. Otherwise, it would have been a total calamitous effect there.
You know, the circuits had to be kicked in, so they would have had a massive problem, a bloodbath there. And the fundamental issue is the first part of your question. Look, this now means that we are in a potential conflict. You know, these daily press briefings, etc., you saw in Israel at the height of the Israel-Hamas war. You saw that back in Kargil on Indian soil. You saw that when the United States went into Afghanistan, there used to be daily briefings by the Taliban and, of course, by the United States. And, of course, US, Iraq, this, that, the other. So, the point is, we are now dangerously close to an elevated conflict situation.
No, but
the great thing is, let
Bharat and every citizen of the country, every Bharatiya accept this, viewers, that if there is a required, if it is required that we will be in a state of conflict for a few days, then so be it. So be it, because this is the time, now or never, that the Pakistanis are taught a lesson. But let's understand some of the highlights, Rahul, here. The S-400 defense system has been activated. It's a mobile surface-to-air missile system, and it's come good. It's only one battery that's been deployed right now. We are going to now procure, and we are sourcing 3 batteries. The second has already come, and it's installed elsewhere. But it destroys aerial targets to a range of 400 kilometers, and that too at an altitude of 30 kilometers above sea level. It can engage 36 targets simultaneously, equipped with 4 types of missiles that are considered ahead of US developed THAAD. So this is one of the most advanced air defense systems. Clearly, what the Pakistanis have, which has been sourced by a nation that has been very, very friendly to it, don't seem to be as effective than what Bharat has been able to procure. Now, the other thing, why Bharat has an edge, let's try and understand this. May 7th, Bharat's success operation, all 9 locations were hit in Pakistan and in POJK. On the 8th of May, Pakistan's attempt failed. They targeted 15 locations and they failed at all. Bharat, as Rahul Shivshankar was saying, and if you were to assume that that was right, the number of locations that Rahul was able to identify, out of 10 locations, at least 4 have been struck. Sialkot, Rawalpindi, this Walton Airport area in Lahore, and Karachi. So 4 locations out of 10. That's again a 40% success rate. compared to zero.
Well,
so
we do
2 days,
know
that's
one
why I'm
thing.
saying 2 days of shame for Asim Munir.
We do know one thing, that Lahore has been defanged. It's defensive because that's the statement. The statement that the Indian army has put out via the PIB today talked about Lahore. They said that we went into Lahore. If you can just read that part, that's the operational part of that statement. It says that we actually hit an air defense system and neutralized it. These are the words exactly. So we know that Lahore today is staring at a situation, Anand.
It's blind.
It's not just blind.
Yeah.
It is exposed.
Yeah, it's blind, it's exposed because
you
it does
imagine?
not know what's happening on the skies and how they're going to do it.
Pakistan's numero one city, the citadel of Pakistan's Punjabi-dominated power elite, is today open.
Yeah.
That's a very worrying thing.
No, not just a worrying thing.
Very worrying
That's
thing
the
for Pakistan.
biggest setback that an Asim Munir
Huge.
can have, and the Pakistan military establishment, the Pakistan civilian government should take cognizance, saying that you're a failed general. Out you go.
Out you go.
The other thing, let's try and understand what all the Indian armed forces deployed, the machinery that came into play. These are all details of the S-400 system that that we are showing to you right now. Let's try and also show you how Bharat dominated the skies over Pakistan. There were the Rafale that was used, the French twin-engine multi-role fighter aircraft that was pressed into play. It was used to target terror camps in Pakistan. The Sukhoi Su-30 MKI, these are the twin-engine heavy Russian fighter aircraft that were used for defense in Operation Sindoor. Mirage 2000, the Mirage 2000 single-engine, fourth-generation fighter jets were used to hit targets with precision ammunition. Storm Shadows, CAP, Anglo-French cruise missile, SCALP, that's the one that was used. It's enabled striking of targets from within the airspace, within Bharatiya airspace. The AASM Hammer, French all-weather air-to-surface standoff weapon that provided flexibility for engaging fortified targets. The Spice 2000 bomb, Israeli developed, precise impact, and this kit, the precision impact kit, was used to precisely hit the targets. Now, Spice 2000 had come into play even at Balakot, and at that time there was question of it having a 10-meter error margin, but that seems to be negated this time because the images are there for all of us to see that all targets were hit. And in Bahawalpur, the Jaish has had major reversals. We'll talk about that in a bit. The killer kamikaze drones also came into play. These are loitering munitions. They are precision weapons. They hover over a target area, fix on the image that's been fed into it, not just the geolocation. Then before striking, it scouts the area, collects the info, matches the picture that it's been fed frame to frame, and then goes and targets it. So it's capable of in-depth monitoring. Durations can eliminate, and it can eliminate possibility of inaccurate damage. But most importantly, it drops and it decimates itself. So there is nothing left of the drone to even source its origin. The Pakistanis also have the same loitering munition, but it was disabled very effectively. Clearly, the drone drops from Jammu and the laser technology that has been devised by the DRDO, somewhere all of it is coming together for a very effective anti-air or an air defense grid, Rahul.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no doubt about it. We've obviously sourced the right weapons, and as you were saying, that clearly put together with the intelligence that we have on Pakistan, we've been able to combine and strike at will. And we have deterred, not just deterred, but we've also struck at will on the other side. Those pictures on your screens, viewers, are actually from Lahore. That's the skyline. You can see those big plumes of smoke going up. There was a lot of chatter. In fact, overnight, Anand, we were all woken up, at least I was, by a couple of people talking about strikes that India had undertaken. Now we understand where that is coming, because at that time we didn't have any confirmation, neither did we have any visual evidence. There was a lot of stuff floating around, but you know, because it was unverified, unverifiable, it was difficult to put on air, so it was discounted. But now, when we put two and two together, we realized what that information that was coming through was obviously mirroring what India has done by going against Pakistan at a time when they came and hit some of our military targets.
Most importantly, because of this briefing, Rahul, what happens, and viewers, is that there is absolute clarity. There is no doubt in the minds of what is happening, and it does not leave any area for speculation. You will not have a defense minister of Pakistan trying to quote social media to the world and say this is the proof. Bharat has put out, this is the truth, this is how it is. Also news coming through, in the interest of national security, all OTT platforms, media streaming platforms and intermediaries operating in Bharat are advised to discontinue web series, films, songs, podcasts and other streaming media content, whether made available on a subscription based model or otherwise, having its origins in Pakistan with immediate effect. Consequentially, all streaming platforms in Bharat are advised to discontinue Pakistan origin content including films, web series, songs, serials, podcasts with immediate effect regardless of whether they are paid or free. We'll try and go across to our reporters for more details on this story. Akash is also live with us. Akash, clearly Bharat is now stepping up the non-kinetic escalation also, and to ensure that all forms of disinformation are plugged in. No particular platform which via podcasts or which via YouTube streaming or somebody else or using some other OTT platform etc. is able to try and push disinformation.
The theory is that you are sending terrorists to our country and we are giving you revenue by the sort of viewership that you are getting here in India. And this is the reason why we are seeing steps like such, Anand, where initially their YouTube channels, their X accounts, and now the web series, the podcast or whatever content they have on different apps or OTT platforms, that will not be here in India. In fact, this is an advisory, but we have seen in the past that how in fact advisories have been accepted by people who are there in the different domains, different sectors, taking responsibility and taking a step for the country. Anand, just one point I want to make. You were talking about air defense systems. Pakistan. We were talking about Pakistan, and our in fact drones were able to destroy their air defense system in Lahore. It is not just HQ9 which they have employed for the air defense. They have got FM90. They have got ANZA series, that is Menped, the handheld devices, and they have got a series of air defense. None of it worked in front of these drones. These Harpy drones that have got in fact the range of 500 kilometers to 1000 kilometers. These drones were used, and these are loitering munition where you can in fact change the target at the end stage. So these smart ammunitions were used against Pakistan. It was pre-planned, and you see the strategy. You see the strategy because yesterday only we had seen that how there were claims that they had downed our fighters and everything else. And today we have in fact given them a reply in the same language that they were using against us.
Right. See, not just the Indian forces giving a reply to the Pak military is one aspect. The other aspect is that you can have all the equipment in the world. The Pakistanis had patent tanks in the battle for Longewala, but they couldn't, because there has to be the will and there has also got to be the sharpness and the intelligence to be able to put the resources available at use. And of course, and that's where the superior capabilities and the abilities of the Indian Armed Forces comes good every time. 1971, General Nizami and what happened with him, the 90,000 POWs, all of these are cases in point. More news coming through. Bharat will release some water into Pakistan which they will not be able to store and then run the tap dry a day or two later. Bharat is going to continue to do this to Pakistan. 28,000 cusecs of water released. There has been water now accumulating because of rains in the upper reaches. Suddenly the tap is going to go on. The sluice gates will be open and huge volumes of water will flow in, and the Kharif sowing season has just started over in Pak Punjab. Payal Mehta joins us with more. Yes, Payal.
Anand, the 28,000 cusecs we were speaking about was done a couple of days ago. Today we are given to understand again water has been released into Pakistan at a time that Pakistan is actually feeling the heat militarily as well. Like we were reporting on your show yesterday, India will continue to mount the offensive on Pakistan and make Pakistan plead for every drop of water. एक बूंद भी पानी नहीं जाएगा. That is Prime Minister Narendra Modi's commitment, which he said in as many words just the other day at a private channels program, and which C.R. Patil had also told us a week or 10 days ago as well, Anand. So even we are going to keep the tap on and off with Pakistan. because Pakistan needs to understand the valuation of a good relation. So these things will continue to happen, till we have certain measures in place where you can actually divert the water which can effectively only be used for India. And you would understand, the science is very simple, that Pakistan will not be able to store this water. This water will finally it'll fade out, it'll go forward. So what can you otherwise really do? You have to just go ahead and pray that your relations get improved with India. That is exactly what India really wants. India wants Pakistan to earn whatever trust that they have in it, because if you do not adhere to the civility rules, if you continue to beat us, we will teach you a lesson in multiple ways.
Right, Payal Mehta will be joining us live, but the water wars or the water offensive continues. Rahul, this is the other aspect. Kinetic engagements will be one aspect, but the overall whole of government offensive against a terror haven, against a terror state, a state sponsor of terror continues, and Bharat is unrelenting on that.
Yeah, actually in the long run, the non-kinetic options will actually break Pakistan. It's a non-kinetic stranglehold that we will put on Pakistan, whether it's water, financial, or even when it comes to gaining legitimacy internationally, i.e. diplomatically. These are the ones that are actually going to isolate Pakistan, punish Pakistan in the longer term. Yes, kinetic actions will punish Pakistan in the short interim period. There will be obviously setbacks. There might even be, as a result of that, some amount of turmoil in the country, especially in the armed forces. But will it lead to state collapse? I doubt it. What will or what possibly could lead to state collapse by creating the situation for mass discontent against their own government will be the economic sanctions, will be this water sort of constant flooding and parching of Pakistan, will be the diplomatic isolation, cutting off from international aid, etc. These are the ones that will actually have a sustained deterrent impact on Pakistan. The military kinetic options that we will undertake will bleed, hit, jolt Pakistan. It might even rock Pakistan for a little while, but they won't be sustained, because these are not sustainable when there are two nuclear states going up against each other. If this turns into a full-blown conflict and war, it will be the first time actually in recent military history that two nuclear powers are actually in a standoff. Remember, the other wars that were fought between India and Pakistan were prior to the nuclearization of both countries. So we have a situation here.
The situation, and right now the message is very loud and clear. Bharat does not want to escalate. Now it's up to the Pakistan establishment, the Pakistanis, to decide whether they want a crazy like Asim Munir to try and dictate the fate of that nation, which is not just on the banks of penury. There is no money. They can't even fight the wars. Their coffers are empty. Or aaj the way the stock markets have crashed, it's Kangali mein aata gila. So it's further worse. Now there is no water also. The farmers and the sowing season is going to happen. You will have food scarcity. There will be the entire food supply chain will get affected. All of these issues are going to only compound problems. The Pakistanis have to realize, do they really want a crazy like him who's to continue the way he is, or should he be given the boot and should he be placed behind bars for the global embarrassment that he has brought to Pakistan? Payal Mehta joins us with more. Payal, so tap on, tap off, tap on, tap off will continue.
Well, of course, Pakistan has to earn every drop of water. Anand, that is the message that is coming from the government of India. It's no less and no more. Pakistan has to understand that India is not going to give away. Gone are the days when India was acting like a charity organization, which was going to give them all the help that they really require. And Pakistan has to earn every single drop of that water, is what India's assessment really has been. India has been saying that, we've been a good neighbor to you. We've allowed you we've given you a lot of benefit of doubt. But if this is what you are going to do to us, then we will not take this lying down as well. So essentially, when you get in a lot of water into Pakistan, which happened a couple of days ago, that water is going to flow away. Water is not a constant place. And how do you save such water? You're not going to be able to save this water. It's going to flow out, and the moment it flow out, we shut the tap essentially. So we're going to make Pakistan, and we're going to play these games with Pakistan. Sorry to use that term, but that is what Pakistan has earned, and this is the fate that they've earned upon themselves.
No, it's not just playing games. They are gaming Pakistan Pakistan by default. That's what it is. And as long as the military establishment continues to hold the posture that it is doing so, it will have to continue to pay and it will have to continue to bear the brunt. More news coming through. World Bank Chief Ajay Banga is at Prime Minister Narendra Modi's residence. He has just now left Prime Minister Narendra Modi's residence. That's the update that we are getting. He's also spoken with the News 18 network about the Indus Water Treaty. Shireen Bhan was in conversation with him.
This Waters Treaty, says the president of the bank, Ajay Banga, speaking exclusively to CNBC TV 18, Banga said the treaty is between two sovereign nations and the bank's role is limited to that of a facilitator. The Indian government has held the treaty in abeyance after the Pahalgam attack, citing national security concerns. Take a look.
The treaty is not suspended. It's technically called something in abeyance, is how the Indian government worded it. There is no provision in the treaty to allow for suspension, the way it was drawn up. It either needs to be gone or it needs to be replaced by another one. That requires the two countries to want to agree. The World Bank's role is basically that of a facilitator if they disagree, not by us making a decision, but by us being the party that goes through a process to find a neutral expert or an arbitrator court to settle it. And we have to pay the fees of those guys through a trust fund that was set up at the bank at the time of creation of the treaty. That's our role. We have no role to play beyond that. I haven't heard from either country yet about anything to do with the Indus Water Treaty. So that's exactly where it is. I know there's a lot of speculation in the media about how the World Bank will either fix it or not, or be approached or not. It's all bunk, because we don't have that role to play. And I wish you would help me tell the media that they should take a look at the treaty and realize that the treaty is a treaty between two sovereign nations, and they have to decide whether that's what they want to continue with. It's their decision.
I welcome you to this briefing by Foreign Secretary Sri Vikram Misri on the ongoing developments regarding Operation Sindoor. We also have with us Colonel Sophia Qureshi and Wing Commander Vyomika Singh for this briefing. With that, I hand over the floor to Foreign Secretary. Sir.
Thank you, Ranveer. Good evening. Thank you all for joining for this briefing. You would have perhaps seen some information related to developments since late last night, early this morning, which has been put out by the Ministry of Defence. Just in case it has been missed, I will request Colonel Sophia Qureshi and Wing Commander Vyomika Singh to just update you and fill you in on the details.
Thank you, sir. ऑपरेशन सिंदूर पर 7 मई 2025 को हुई प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस के दौरान भारत ने अपनी प्रतिक्रिया को केंद्रित, संतुलित और गैर उत्तेजक बताया था। यह विशेष रूप से स्पष्ट किया गया था कि पाकिस्तानी सैन्य ठिकानों को निशाना नहीं बनाया गया। साथ ही दोहराया गया कि भारत में किसी भी सैन्य लक्ष्य पर हमले का उचित जवाब दिया जाएगा। 7 से 8 मई 2025 की रात को पाकिस्तान ने उत्तरी और पश्चिमी भारत में स्थित कई सैन्य ठिकानों को, जैसे कि अवंतीपुरा, श्रीनगर, जम्मू, पठानकोट, अमृतसर, कपूरथला, जालंधर, लुधियाना, आदमपुर, भटिंडा, चंडीगढ़, नाल, फलौदी, उत्तरलाई और भुज पर ड्रोन और मिसाइलों से हमला करने का प्रयास किया। इन हमलों को इंटीग्रेटेड काउंटर यूएस ग्रिड और वायु रक्षा प्रणालियों द्वारा निष्क्रिय कर दिया गया। इन हमलों का मलबा कई स्थानों से बरामद हुआ, जो कि पाकिस्तानी हमलों का प्रमाण है। On the night of 7th May 2025, Pakistan attempted to engage a number of military targets in northern and western India using drones and missiles. These places included Avantipura, Srinagar, Jammu, Pathankot, Amritsar, Kapurthala, Nal, Jalandhar, Ludhiana, Adampur, Bhatinda, Chandigarh, Falodi, Uttarlai and Bhuj. These were neutralized by the integrated counter unmanned aerial system and other air defense systems. The debris of these attacks is now being recovered from a number of locations that prove the Pakistani attacks.
आज सुबह भारतीय सशस्त्र बलों ने पाकिस्तान के कई स्थानों पर वायु रक्षा रडार और प्रणालियों को निशाना बनाया। भारत की प्रतिक्रिया समान क्षेत्र में समान तीव्रता के साथ की गई। यह विश्वसनीय रूप से ज्ञात हुआ कि लाहौर में स्थित एक वायु रक्षा प्रणाली को निष्क्रिय कर दिया गया।
Today morning, Indian Armed Forces targeted air defense radars and systems at a number of locations in Pakistan. Indian response has been in the same domain with the same intensity as Pakistan. It has been reliably learnt that an air defense system at Lahore has been neutralized.
पाकिस्तान ने नियंत्रण रेखा पर आकरण गोलीबारी की तीव्रता बढ़ा दी है, जिसमें कुपवाड़ा, बारामूला, उरी, पुंछ, मेंढर और राजौरी क्षेत्रों में मोर्टार और भारी तोपखाने का इस्तेमाल किया जा रहा है।
Pakistan has increased the intensity of its unprovoked firing across the line of control using mortar and heavy calibre artilleries in areas in Kupwara, Baramulla, Uri, Poonch, Mendhar and Rajouri sectors in Jammu and Kashmir. 16 innocent lives have been lost, including 3 women and 5 children due to the Pakistani firing. Here too, India was compelled to respond to bring mortar and artillery fire from Pakistan to a halt. Indian Armed Forces reiterate their commitment to non-escalation provided it is respected by the Pakistan military. Jai Hind.
Thank you. Friends, this is, as I said, further to the briefing that was provided yesterday and some of the updates that have been just provided by Colonel Qureshi and Wing Commander Singh. I thought that we would just put some of the aspects related to the events that started on 22nd April with the barbaric terror attack in Pahalgam into further context, because there is a certain amount of commentary that has happened with regard to the events since then, and more than the commentary, there has been a lot of disinformation that has been directed at us from across the border. So a few things that I would like you to keep in mind. First of all, there is mention on all sides of escalation. I think the first point that you have to keep in mind is the attack of 22nd April in Pahalgam is the original escalation. ये जो सिलसिला है जो हम देख रहे हैं आज की घटनाओं को लेके, ये 22 अप्रैल के पहलगाम के हमले से शुरू हुआ है। एस्केलेशन वहां पे हुआ है और उस एस्केलेशन का जवाब भारतीय सेना ने, भारतीय फौज ने कल अपने एक्शन से दिया है। Secondly, I want to invite your attention to the involvement of the group calling itself the Resistance Front in these attacks. I pointed this out yesterday that this is a group that is a known front for the well-known Pakistan-based terrorist organization, Lashkar-e-Taiba. The group has been reported earlier. I mentioned to you about the Indian authorities providing information to the UN 1267 Sanctions Monitoring Committee. And in fact, we are going to be meeting with the team again very soon, and we will be providing an update to the information that we have provided earlier. But what is interesting दिलचस्प बात यह है कि संयुक्त राष्ट्र की सुरक्षा समिति में जब पहलगाम के हमले को लेके एक प्रेस वक्तव्य जारी करने की बात चल रही थी, तो आप सोचिए किस देश ने टीआरएफ का, द रेजिस्टेंस फ्रंट का उसमें मेंशन किया जाना, उसको अपोज किया, पाकिस्तान ने. दिस was after the fact that the TRF claimed responsibility for this attack not once but twice within a few hours after the incident on the 22nd of April and then again on the morning of 23rd April. And it is perhaps only after the full gravity of the incident was realized by its masters and handlers across the border that it was managed to back off from this claim. Obviously, that retraction doesn't convince anybody. तीसरी चीज जो मैं आपसे कहना चाह रहा था, और कर्नल कुरैशी और विंग कमांडर सिंह ने कल भी बड़े स्पष्ट शब्दों में और आज भी आपसे ये बात साझा की है. जो भारतीय रिस्पॉन्स है वो नॉन एस्केलेटरी है, प्रिसाइज है, सटीक है, मेजर्ड है और कंसिडर्ड है. आवर इंटेंशन हैज नॉट बीन टू escalate matters. We are only responding to the original escalation, as I said, and our response has been targeted, precise, controlled and measured. Only no military targets have been selected. Only terrorist infrastructure in Pakistan has been hit. Now, there are, as I said, a number of issues that have been raised in commentaries, and there's a lot of, as I said, unfounded disinformation and fabrication that has come from across the border. And I would just like to use this opportunity to set the record straight on some of these issues. The first of these is Pakistan trying to wash its hands off any and all involvement with terrorism. I think the Pakistani information minister said there are no terrorists in Pakistan, and I think he was challenged on that in the television program that he was appearing on. But even if I partially repeat myself from yesterday, I think Pakistan's reputation as the epicenter of global terrorism is rooted in a number of instances where concrete evidence is available, not just to India, but to governments and authorities and agencies around the world. There are several terrorist attacks around the world where Pakistani fingerprints have been found. I don't need to belabor the point with regard to this audience about where Osama bin Laden was found and who called him a martyr. Pakistan has also for decades pursued cross-border terrorism into India with impunity, and as I said yesterday also, in order to deliberately mislead the international community, they claimed that the terrorist Sajid Mir was dead. They came under pressure, and Sajid Mir was then brought back to life, arrested, and is now apparently in Pakistani custody. Pakistan is also home to a very large number of UN proscribed as well as UN proscribed terrorists, as well as terrorists proscribed by a number of other governments in the world, including, of course, the Lashkar-e-Taiba and the Jaish-e-Mohammed, as well as their leaders, Masood Azhar and Hafiz Mohammed Saeed. आपने देखा होगा हाल ही में पिछले कुछ दिनों में पाकिस्तान के रक्षा मंत्री और उनके पूर्व विदेश मंत्री दोनों ने इस बात को माना है कि पाकिस्तान का ऐसे ग्रुप्स के साथ जो रिश्ता है वो क्या रहा है. Both the defense minister and the former foreign minister of Pakistan, I think, have, I think they've done a more eloquent job of this than I could ever do in terms of describing their country's implication in international terrorism and their involvement in housing these kinds of groups. दूसरा जो विषय है वो है पाकिस्तान का जो एक दावा है कि एक इंटरनेशनल impartial investigation होना चाहिए, एक joint investigative committee होनी चाहिए. These calls for jointly investigating this heinous and barbaric attack in Pahalgam. Again, I think you know the history well on this, you know the track record well, and it is not a bright track record insofar as Pakistan is concerned. In fact, in the pursuit of justice for the victims of multiple terrorist attacks, whether it be Mumbai in 2008, in Pathankot in 2016, or many others, but in particular for these two attacks, India had offered to cooperate. India provided forensic evidence and urged Pakistan to bring the perpetrators of these attacks to justice. We, in particular with regard to the Mumbai attacks of 2008, where a Pakistani Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorist was captured alive, India provided extensive information and evidence related to the involvement of Pakistani terrorists in this attack. Cases were registered, but you are all aware that these cases have not progressed despite the formation of judicial teams, etc. And Pakistan has consistently stonewalled all efforts to move the investigation along. In fact, with regard to the Pathankot attack as well, a joint investigative team was formed. We gave access, unprecedented access, I should say, to Pakistani team to the site of the attack. Details of call records data and DNA, etc. were shared with Pakistan. We had shared with them details related that we had been able to access to the addresses of terrorists. We presented evidence against the office bearers of Jaish-e-Mohammed who had conspired in the attack, and the handlers of the terrorists who facilitated them and guided them in. But there has been no movement on this. So in all of this, I think the experience has not been positive, and it certainly doesn't give us the confidence now to take at face value Pakistani assertions of wishing to participate in a joint investigation. These are just delaying tactics, these are just stonewalling tactics, and in fact there is reason to believe that Pakistan uses the evidence that we provide only to cover its tracks and in fact defend the terrorists who we are looking for and obstruct the path of investigation. A third point that I wanted to address was the claim that only civilians were killed in the strikes on the 7th of May. We have made the point very clearly that all attacks on the morning of 7th May were against carefully selected terrorist infrastructure, terrorist targets. It is not clear to us, in fact, seeing some of the coverage of the after effects of these strikes, including the funerals for the terrorists that are held yesterday. I think a lot of you have seen the reports and the coverage on media. If only civilians, if any civilians were killed in these attacks, I wonder what message this picture actually sends to all of you. This is a question that is worth asking. It's also odd that the funerals of civilians are carried out with the coffins being draped in Pakistani flags and state honors being accorded. As far as we are concerned, the individuals eliminated at these facilities were terrorists. Giving terrorist state funerals may be a practice in Pakistan. Doesn't seem to make much sense to us. Pakistan has also claimed that India deliberately attacked religious sites. This is completely false again. I have made it clear that the targets were terrorist infrastructure, terrorist facilities, and locations connected clearly with incidents of cross-border terrorism into India. And it is in fact Pakistan that is misusing religious sites as a cover to in fact radicalize, direct and indoctrinate and train terrorists. In fact, contrary to what Pakistan is claiming, yesterday Pakistan launched a targeted attack on the Sikh community in the state of Jammu and Kashmir, hitting Gurdwara in Poonch and the homes of Sikh community members which came under attack, and we know that at least 3 individuals were killed in that particular attack. Pakistan is also making attempts to, in fact, just to add to this point, the retaliatory action that Pakistan has taken, in fact, is impacting civilians. I showed you the picture of the Gurdwara and the Sikh community members who were killed in this. There are other civilians also who've been killed and injured in these attacks. In fact, since yesterday morning, a total of 16 civilians have been killed and 59 others have been injured in the attacks by Pakistan. Not only this, Pakistan is also making attempts as part of its disinformation campaign to paint our action with regard to cross-border terrorism through the communal angle. If that is the issue, then I think I can do no better than to cite or point you in the direction of the Pakistan Army Chief's speech of 16 April 2025. I think that is the last word in communal rhetoric. And in the Pahalgam attack itself, you are aware of the kind of religious profiling that was done there, and perhaps there is a linkage between these two events. I can only say that these nefarious designs will not be allowed to succeed in India. And it is to be noted that people from all faiths, all religions, all regions in India have unequivocally, not just in India but around the world, have condemned these attacks. The Pakistani claims of now responding to India's strikes of the 7th of May. As I said right at the outset, it is India which is responding. The original escalation was by Pakistan on the 22nd of April. We are the ones who are responding to that escalation with the action that was taken yesterday morning. And again, I would like to emphasize that the action was restrained. It was directed towards non-civilian, non-military targets and confined to terrorist camps. And again, as we have been saying since yesterday, any further action by Pakistan, some of which we are seeing today, is nothing but escalation by Pakistan now once again, and will be responded to and is being responded to appropriately. One point that I wanted to also address was the allegations to the targeting of a dam, the Neelam Jhelum project in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. I want to say that this is an absolute and complete fabrication and a blatant lie. India has targeted only and only terrorist infrastructure, and the details of that terrorist infrastructure, together with the locations, were shared with you yesterday by Colonel Qureshi and Wing Commander Singh. I should note that if this kind of a claim is a pretext for targeting Indian infrastructure of a similar nature, Pakistan will be entirely responsible for the consequences that will undoubtedly follow. Finally, I want to address some issues that have been raised related to the Indus Waters Treaty and the disinformation that has been raised in regard to that as well. The fact is that there have been fundamental changes in the circumstances in which the Indus Waters Treaty was concluded, and they call for a reassessment of the obligations under the treaty. Over the last year and a half to 2 years, India has been in communication with the government of Pakistan. We've sent several notices to them requesting for negotiations to discuss modification of the treaty. India has for 6+ decades now honored the treaty, even during periods when Pakistan imposed multiple wars on us, and even when relations were adversarial. Pakistan is the one that has been acting in violation of the treaty, deliberately creating legal roadblocks in India exercising its legitimate rights on the western rivers. Any projects that India sought to build on the eastern rivers, and even on the western rivers, which we are allowed to by the treaty, were always challenged by Pakistan, thereby hampering our rights to utilize our legitimate waters under the treaty. In fact, if you see, the preamble of the treaty itself states that the treaty was concluded in a spirit of goodwill and friendship. Mark those words, concluded in a spirit of goodwill and friendship. ये भारत का धैर्य और भारत की सहनशीलता है जो 65 साल से हम इतनी प्रोवोकेशन के बावजूद इस ट्रीटी को निभा रहे हैं. However, as has been made clear earlier as well, Pakistan has not responded to our requests to enter into negotiations for a reassessment of the obligations under the treaty. A number of conditions have changed. This is a treaty that was based on the engineering techniques of the 50s and the 60s. We are living through the first quarter of the 21st century. Technological changes and technological advancements have to be taken into account. There are demographic changes. There are climate changes that have taken place. There is the imperative of clean energy. And of course, the terrorism that Pakistan has wreaked in the state of Jammu and Kashmir itself has hampered India's ability to exercise its rights under the treaty. Pakistan's persistent refusal to respond to our request to enter into government-to-government negotiations on the modification of the treaty is, in a sense, itself a violation of the treaty, and therefore India has taken the step of putting the treaty in abeyance until Pakistan abjures irrevocably its support for cross-border terrorism. Maybe I'll stop there. I mentioned earlier yesterday as well that this is an evolving situation. I would therefore ask all of you to be considerate and restrained. It will not be possible for us or my colleagues from the armed forces to share operational details at this point in time. Beyond that, if you have any questions, may I have time for only a few, and I'll try to answer those questions.
Okay, I give the floor to Rishabh.
Secretary, good evening. This is Rishabh from Times Now. I just wanted to understand, as per the press release that has been released earlier today, it says that we have successfully hit at the air defense of Lahore. Does it give our forces a better chances if in case of further escalation? And are there other air defense places as well at strategic location that were targeted?
Rishabh, you are violating the first rule that I set out at the end of my remarks. The press release that has been issued by the Ministry of Defence today speaks for itself. It is related to operational matters. It's been released by the Ministry of Defence. As more information becomes available, it will be released at the appropriate time. Once again, please don't go into operational details at this point in time, because this is a constantly evolving situation. Yeah, go ahead.
Foreign Secretary Smita Sharma, just wanted to ask, the Pakistani Minister Ishaq Dar in an interview has claimed that the national security advisors of India and Pakistan have spoken to each other. If you could confirm or deny, and is complete severance of diplomatic ties with Pakistan also on the table?
I have no information with regard to contacts between the two national security advisors. Insofar as diplomatic relations are concerned, you've seen the steps that were announced in response to the following the meeting of the Cabinet Committee on Security on the 23rd of April. There are no further steps that are under consideration at this moment in time. Yeah, go ahead.
फॉरेन सेक्रेटरी, मेरा नाम मनीष है, मैं TV9 भारतवर्ष से हूं, और आपने खुद ही बताया कि कितना मिस इन्फॉर्मेशन क्रॉस बॉर्डर से आ रहा है, बल्कि ऐसा लग रहा है जैसे पाकिस्तान के प्राइम मिनिस्टर और डिफेंस मिनिस्टर तक भी प्रोपेगेंडा करने में मिस इन्फॉर्मेशन में आ गए हैं। वो कई बार तो ये तक दावा करते हैं कि हम 3 राफेल हमने गिरा दिया, इतने हमने मिग गिरा दिए, और जब उनसे पूछा जाता है तो वो कहते हैं कि सोशल मीडिया में हमने ये सब चीजें देखी थी। तो अगर आधिकारिक तौर पर अगर आप कुछ कह सकें इस पर, ताकि उन्हें भी समझ में आए कि इस तरह के प्रोपेगेंडा नहीं चलने वाला है।
देखिए, जब सही समय होगा तो आधिकारिक तौर पे इसके बारे में सूचना दी जाएगी, लेकिन जो आपका प्रश्न है कि प्रधानमंत्री और उप प्रधानमंत्री और विदेश मंत्री, उनके रक्षा मंत्री इस तरह की बातें कर रहे हैं, तो इसमें अचरज की कोई बात नहीं है। आखिरकार ये एक देश है जिसने अपना इसका जन्म लेते ही झूठ शुरू हो गया था। 1947 में जब पाकिस्तानी फौज ने जम्मू कश्मीर पे दावा बोला, तो उन्होंने किसी ऐसे वैसे व्यक्ति से नहीं, संयुक्त राष्ट्र से झूठ बोला कि हमारा कोई लेना देना नहीं है इससे, ये लोग जो गए हैं वो तो कबायली हैं। वो तो जब हमारी फौज वहां पे पहुंची और UN के लोग, संयुक्त राष्ट्र के लोग खुद वहां पे पहुंचे, उन्होंने देखा कि वहां तो पाकिस्तानी फौज घुसपैठ करके आ गई है, उसके बाद पाकिस्तान को मुंह की देखनी पड़ी और उनको मानना पड़ा कि हाँ, उनकी फौज वहां पे कुछ समय से पड़ी हुई है। तो ये जो यात्रा है एक तरह से 75 साल पहले शुरू हो चुकी है, तो आई एम नॉट सरप्राइज दैट दिस काइंड ऑफ disinformation is being indulged in. Yeah. Siddhant.
Sir, Siddhant from Beyond. Sir, we have seen a lot of negative comments coming from the Pakistani military of escalation. If tomorrow there is an escalation, there are strikes, we know one attempt has been thwarted, what will be the Indian response to those attempts of creating more escalation? Because it is looking like it's going towards more escalation. And my second question is, are any other world powers, essentially the P5 countries, the West Asian countries, reaching out to de-escalate the current situation?
Look, on escalation, we've already made our stance clear. I mean, there are two basic points. First of all, it is Pakistan that escalated on the 22nd of April. We are only responding to that escalation. And then what we have said yesterday and what my colleagues have said today, that now if there is an attempt at further escalation by Pakistan, it will be responded to in an appropriate domain. And therefore, the choice is entirely that of Pakistan to make. As to your second question, I don't think I can do better than to point you in the direction of the statements that are being made from practically every chancellery in the world and the sentiment that they are carrying. That sentiment essentially and for the major portion is support for the government of India in the context of the condemnation of the terrorist attack in Pahalgam on the 22nd of April. There is wide recognition of the government of India's right to respond to these attacks in self-defense, and of course a desire to ensure that there is not further escalation. I think these statements speak for themselves. Yeah.
So this is Mausami from India Today. Now in the all-party meeting we have learned that the defense minister has said that, you know, in the Operation Sindoor almost 100 terrorists were killed. Would we have any details about what is the number like, and also about if there were any big faces, masterminds, terrorist masterminds who were in fact killed? There is also a report that Masood Azhar's family's 10 members have been killed, and Rauf Asghar, who was actually the mastermind of Pulwama, he's also been badly, severely injured.
I don't have information at this point in time to share with you on these issues. But as I said, I think, you know, there is so much information out there on television, in the news media, in social media, that it sometimes looks like a long time has passed since this. Please understand that slightly over 36 hours only have passed since this operation was undertaken. Let us have some patience. Information will come out and will be shared in due time. Shruti.
Thank you, Foreign Secretary. Shruti Ranjan from Bloomberg. Sir, could you give us any understanding whether India has moved the IMF or the World Bank to kind of, you know, sensitize them about the the bailout that Pakistan has, and, you know, the kind of stuff that the Pakistan government is doing?
Look, we have an executive director at the IMF. Tomorrow there is a meeting of the board of the IMF, and I'm sure that our executive director will put forward India's position. The decisions of the board are a different matter. You know the process through which they are made. But I think the case with regard to Pakistan should be self-evident to those people who generously open their pockets to bail out this country. And since you are from Bloomberg, I think you would have the data on how many IMF bailout programs have been, very good, thank you, have been sanctioned in the space of the last 3 decades. And I think you would also have an idea of how many of those programs have actually reached successful conclusion. Probably not many. So I think this is a decision that board members have to take by looking deep within themselves and looking at the facts.
So we can, one last question, sir.
Yeah,
one last question.
Foreign Secretary, I'm Siddhant from CNN News 18. I would like to know, since it's an opportunity to speak to you, I would like to know the response coming from United States since last 3 weeks. Saudi Arabia, Qatar. In fact, Prime Minister Modi spoke to Qatar before the strikes that evening. Perhaps how do you read the support coming from these countries? Perhaps traditionally they were seen on the other side. This time around, their statements are strong worded. In fact, India-Saudi joint statement also had a very strong condemnation, strong worded condemnation. United States at all level have condemned the attack and have extended support. In fact, Saudi Deputy Foreign Minister is in India. He just met EMS Jaishankar. Also, if you could shed some light on his visit, his meeting with EMS Jaishankar. In fact, we have also been told that he met Prime Minister Modi. Thank you.
Look, all the countries that you named and many others, we have been in touch with them. The Prime Minister has spoken to a large number of world leaders. A large number of world leaders have called him, as have called the External Affairs Minister. As we speak, there are conversations going on today as well with world leaders. And your assessment or conclusion of the general tenor of these messages is very much on point. And I think this is a recognition of the fact, firstly, of the barbaric nature, the unprecedented nature and character and features of the attack in Pahalgam, and a recognition of India's right to respond to this, and also a recognition of the fact that in responding, we have been nothing but responsible and have done so in a restrained, in a measured, and in a non-escalatory manner. I think that counts for something. People have taken that into account, and that is what is explaining the kinds of reactions that we are seeing. And we appreciate the sentiments and the statements that have been made by the vast majority of world leaders. Yes, the Saudi Minister of State for Foreign Affairs is in Delhi. He had a meeting with the External Affairs Minister earlier today. I don't have further details at this moment, but if there are details, the ministry will share them at some point with you. Thank you. I think that's all we have time for today. We'll join you again soon. Thank you all.
Thank you.
The second briefing by the MEA and the MOD on Operation Sindoor, but of course they recounted the information that we had brought to you earlier this afternoon as well about how Pakistan attempted to attack as many as 15 different locations across the international border in the early hours this morning, targeting specifically military or air force installations, but all of those attempts were thwarted. On the other side, India in a proportionate response fired drones and other ammunition into Pakistan territory and have managed to destroy the air defense radar systems. My colleague Akash is with us. Akash, that information being reiterated in that press conference, and once again India making it clear that the original escalation was the Pahalgam attack. India retaliated after that, and now Pakistan is trying to escalate the matter.
Right. First of all, I'll start it by saying that both the officers, both the women officers, were in combat uniform, is sending a larger message, and is a message that, we won't disturb you initially, but if you will try to, send terrorists to our territory, our land, if you'll attack us, then we won't spare. And in fact, it was categorically mentioned by the Foreign Secretary as well, that how there was a linkage, in fact, links between the speech by the army chief, Pakistani army chief, and the attacks that happened here in Pahalgam. In fact, today, when this attack was launched on the air defense systems here in India of the Indian Air Force and Indian Army and all the infrastructures related to Air Force, Shivani, it was retaliated. And then in the same language, we destroyed their air defense systems. You could not do anything, but we can do, and we did it. This is what the message is, and in fact in the press conference it was point-wise clarification on a number of narratives that have been ongoing in the social media. We know that how Pakistan is propagating several sort of theories. They are claiming several sort of jets, Indian jets that were downed by their air force. They are claiming that how they have downed several Indian drones while the retaliation was carried out in the morning today, and a number of things. But Foreign Secretary in fact has clarified on all these aspects, Shivani.
Absolutely, Akash. Thanks a lot for joining us. We'll keep coming back to you for more. Let's also go across to our guest joining us. Lieutenant General Philip Campos is former Vice Chief of the Army Staff. Rajiv Dogra, former diplomat and Consular General to Karachi. Sushant Sareen, Senior Fellow ORF, Wing Commander Abhishek Matiman, Defence Expert, also with us. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me. And you may appreciate the delay caused because of that press conference. Let me begin with Lieutenant General Philip Campos on what the Indian MOD, MEA's position is. You must have, of course, taken in the information that has come in this afternoon about Pakistan attempting to escalate and target military installations of the Indian Air Force, particularly across the international border. India has already responded. The message still from India seems to be that, okay, do not escalate any further. They don't seem to, they're not using this as an opportunity to go full hog against Pakistan. They're saying we have responded in a proportionate manner, but Pakistan should not do anything else now.
Thank you for having invited me on your show. See, once we understand the larger picture of what has happened, you would understand that whatever is happening now, what has happened yesterday, what is happening today, and what will continue to happen is all forms of tit for tat responses which will happen. We are all aware of our calibrated attack yesterday morning on 9 terror infrastructure targets in Pakistan. It was a very measured response. It was a very calibrated response. It was meant purely to target terror infrastructure, and to that extent it was non-escalatory in nature, in that we did not target military locations or weapon systems as far as yesterday is concerned. But we are all aware that even by the morning, when people woke up to what had happened in the night in the form of our attacks, the Pakistan army had started firing, the artillery had started firing on our villages close to the LOC. And that has continued today. The sad part of it is that 16 people are reported to have died and 59 people injured, which is a sad consequence that these are all innocent people living on the border. And to that extent, I mean, my sense is that they should have been warned and moved out the moment this sort of action had been taken by us. But that is the sort of action which is going to take place now from both sides.
So what do you make of the escalation that Pakistan attempted by trying to target, they couldn't manage it, but trying to target our military establishments today?
See, there are certain levels of escalation. One, as was described and explained by the Foreign Secretary, the main escalation is the Pahalgam attack. There was one huge escalation. That's the first one. That is what triggered off what was our response in terms of what happened early yesterday morning. Now, it is expected that possibly Pakistan would respond in some manner, and it remains to be seen as to what happens and what we do about it. But in the meanwhile, what we are seeing is there will be a lot of tit for tat exchanges taking place on the border in terms of artillery shelling on both sides and sort of engagement of targets. So what is happening there, I would say, is was expected, will continue, while and it is for us to protect ourselves, to make sure that while all this is happening, we do not suffer any casualties in our people, especially civilians. And there is a larger escalation which is expected in terms of possibly a larger response, and that is what we should be waiting for, and protecting ourselves and responding appropriately when these skirmishes or these exchanges of fire take place across the border.
Okay, let me go across to Rajiv Dogra, who's also joining us. The issue of escalation has come up as far as this press conference is concerned. What is your sense? Most parties, global parties, countries have asked Pakistan to lay low and not attempt anything, but they have. We have that information now. The Indian ministry is very clear that anything that they attempt will invite a response, because they are the ones who are the original escalators. We are only retaliating, and that will go on. Do you think that message will sink in Pakistan, or is that a lost hope?
Firstly, compliments to MEA and Ministry of Defence for a very measured, sober and matter-of-fact press conference where they shared all possible details short of the operational detail.
Yes.
So it was a professional job, very well done, and the message has also been received by the foreign media, because foreign media was present there. So reaching out to the world has been one step in this direction. As far as escalation is concerned, Pakistan is today sending out messages at two levels. One, if you hear the debates of yesterday in Senate and Parliament, and if you hear the debates today in the Parliament, there's a whole lot of difference in some of those debates. Yesterday, they were they were bringing blood, they wanted more violence, they wanted more attacks against India. Today, some of the senators were literally crying. They were saying that, save us now. So, one is a reflection of the sentiment of the public, who are really wondering whether Pakistan is going in the right direction. Second is the army of Pakistan, headed by General Munir. And General Munir has a personal stake in not letting things be, because if he now backs down, I think psychologically, I am trying to read his mind, psychologically he will be worried that his position may become shaky. So there is a personal element, and there is also the sentiment which seems to be shifting against escalation. I'm talking of Pakistan. So let's see how it goes, but Pakistan army and Pakistan establishment is very unpredictable. So you can't say anything for sure.
Yes, absolutely. That's the difficulty. So Shant Sareen, the Indian MEA also laying to rest a lot of the misinformation that is coming from Pakistan, whether it's about India targeting civilians. Vikram Misri, they're clarifying that we've only targeted, specifically targeted terror camps. No civilians have actually been targeted at all. When it comes to their statements of downing Indian jets, we know, the complete laughable statement that came from their foreign minister or the defense minister when he said it's all over social media. Even the misinformation about India attacking a dam, all of this is coming from the Pakistani side. And in India, we are acting very strongly against all of this misinformation, but it certainly helps when the government comes out and puts it to rest. So Shant, your mic.
Yeah, so sorry for that. The PC of the Foreign Secretary and the Armed Forces, I thought was brilliantly done, very comprehensive, covered all kinds of angles, including the one about this business of fake news that the Pakistanis are generating and trying to claim certain victories. Now, my counsel would be, I said this in the morning, I'll say it again. We are at a time of instant communication. Fake news travels faster than your ability to debunk it or fact check it. So I would strongly suggest that maybe these press conferences, maybe not at the level of the Foreign Secretary, but somebody from the MEA and the two armed forces officials should probably have at least 2 briefings in a day, and there should be a dedicated cell which should in real time be responding to fake news and propaganda nonsense which is the Pakistanis are spouting all the time. It's just a suggestion because this is also an information war game which you need to join and you need to play it in real time. At the time if you hold a briefing in the evening, that whole day's news cycle has already done its work. So to that extent I would strongly suggest this. But I thought the way Mr. Misri handled some of the issues and he highlighted Pakistan's involvement with terrorism, that it's a great propaganda coup for India that these jokers of the Pakistan army are standing behind a designated terrorist during a namaz-e-janaza of other terrorists. And it tells you the nature of the state and the nature of the society. All the other stuff where he debunked this business that we've targeted, the Neelam Jhelum project, it's a defunct project anyways. The Chinese have built it. It hasn't worked properly ever since It's been built. It has only eaten up money. I think if indeed we are targeting the Neelam Jhelum project, we'll probably be doing the Pakistanis a favor. But at least we debunk that we are not targeting this kind of civilian infrastructure.
Yes.
Even the retaliation which has taken place, and we said this in the morning, Shivani, it was proportionate. And it was proportionate simply because the Pakistanis were not able to inflict any damage at all. Their attacks, which they were trying to launch in India, were repaired, and the Indian counter-attack on similar targets as they were targeting has been reasonably successful, or pretty successful.
Okay.
So I think that response has been proportionate. But if the Pakistanis want to now go up the escalation ladder, simply because in Pakistan's case, you have an illegitimate regime. You have a person who prances about as prime minister, who even lost his own election. Right? His brother lost his election. The whole damn party lost their election. They had 17 or 18 seats they had won, but that was catapulted by 5 times, and they were given about 80 seats so they could form a government.
Okay.
You have a, whose legitimacy is also being questioned. Now, I keep asking, what is the priority for them? Is it to save the regime, or is it to save Pakistan? Because if they're going to go up the escalation ladder, then I don't think they will be either able to save the regime or Pakistan. But
let's hope what transpired early today is going to be a reminder of what they're up against. Because Wing Commander Matiman, it demonstrated India's superiority when it comes to not just defending itself against the attacks that the enemy may mount, but also the fact that they cannot stop any of our missiles or drones. This has been proven again.
See, it has undoubtedly been proven, but what I feel is the most important factor to be borne in mind is, hereafter we will need to recalibrate our limits to endure further loss of Indian lives. That was the basic premise we reacted on when post the incident in Pahalgam on 22nd. We have lost 16 more today.
Yes.
Every Indian life lost is valuable. Let's remember, valuable for us, for the Indian state. Unlike the Paki jihadis, for the Pakistani state.
Right.
Our response to subsequent phases of conflict will need to bear this in mind while planning the volume, ferocity of our responses to come and the desired end state that we want to achieve.
Okay, fair enough. You're absolutely right.
Because let me finish. Because on that very thing will depend the final lessons that the Paki jihadis and their terror infrastructure take home, despite our evident military superiority on display so far.
Yes, absolutely. No reason why India should actually have to take this, and that question has been asked many times. Rajiv Dogra, coming back to you on the other big point that Vikram Misri talked about earlier in the press conference, is the issue of Pakistan denying its connection to terror factories. Of course, in the many interviews that they've done post Pahalgam in global media, they've made fools of themselves, either by accepting or even by making statements which are as unbelievable as there are no terrorists in Pakistan. So he listed out that history, and he also talked about this demand that Pakistan keeps making of a neutral investigation or a joint investigation. We know that they turn out to be a farce. Do you think even the global community has had it as far as these demands or these excuses for terror factories in Pakistan is concerned? This is why nobody is really paying attention to Pak's excuses this time.
Well, absolutely. I mean, firstly, Foreign Secretary himself was very clinical in dismissing Pakistan's representations and propaganda on this issue. Second, what was Pathankot? We had invited their team, which included their ISI officers who had probably sanctioned that attack. What came of it? They went back, did not share a shred of evidence with us. After all, they had the accused within their country. They had all the planning documents within their country. They had all the planners and masterminds within their country. Why didn't they send us the information that they had? I mean, if very keen on joint investigation. That is a prime example of the fraud they committed on India.
Yeah.
Second, there has also been an international investigation. 2611 masterminds, one of whom is now in Indian prison, the other is still in American prison, that went through the entire ladder of American justice. So what are they talking about? I remember British Prime Minister, former British Prime Minister Cameron, who said, and it's on public record, that 70% of all terror attacks in the world can be traced back to Pakistan. So what more proof do they want?
Exactly.
If they want further proof, why don't they see what happened to Muridke and other installations where now people are sort of attending funerals for their 100 terrorists or so who were killed in that attack.
Yes.
So I don't think we should give great value to Pakistan's protestations because Pakistan is used to hoodwinking the world, including especially to America, whose greatest enemy is Osama bin Laden, was right next to the Pakistan Military Academy.
Exactly. I mean, that was the greatest betrayal, if any was needed, by the West, because they kept taking funding and everything else from the US, and US's most wanted was given harbor in Pakistan. So that's the treacherous nature of Pakistan. Yet there are still some in the world that continue to mollycoddle this country, and we've heard explanations from earlier. It used to be balancing India with that AFPAC region. Then it is about using Pakistan to balance India's ambitions even today, but also of course the fact that this is a nuclear weaponed country, so it's too big to fail or too dangerous to fail, etc. Let me go across to Lieutenant General once again on the issue of the LOC. You were talking about that. As Wing Commander was saying, that this is where we're actually losing lives, and every life has to be put a great price upon. Why is it that we continue to suffer casualties when it comes to ceasefire violations at the LOC?
That is, I agree with Wing Commander totally. It's very shocking when I saw those figures of 16 dead. We are going in to respond because we lost 26 people on the 22nd of last month. And now, within 24 hours of our retaliation, we've lost 16 people. And I don't know, there are 59, they are saying,
injured,
have suffered injuries, and
Yes.
there might be more fatalities. So there is something missing out here, that while we did take retaliatory measures about which we have spoken since yesterday morning, but somewhere we also owe it to our people to make sure that there are no more casualties.
So what's the
They're all
difficulty?
preventable.
What's the
And they're all
difficulty here?
preventable.
Is it that
Yes.
we are not being as aggressive as we could be to attack the Pakistani posts?
See, it's not attacking the Pakistani posts, it is warning your people. There is something missing here. We've seen this exchange of fire across the LOC is not a new phenomenon.
Yes.
It's happened time and again over the last so many years. There are periods of intense firing and there are other periods of calm. And when we expect periods of intense firing, there are certain precautions which are taken. There are bunkers in those areas. People move into those bunkers. People are warned, nobody comes out, or if it is something which is going to last longer than that, which is the current situation, they are moved out of those areas.
Okay.
Somewhere, hearing about those 16 deaths and 59 wounded, it definitely tells me that our civil defense system or whatever is required in terms of the local administration, warning the people, taking them out from there, protecting them, that should also be happening. Okay. Because this is going to continue.
Okay.
This sort of escalation, and where it's going to take us. At this point, it's more of tit for tat violence across the LOC, where artillery guns or mortars or machine guns are firing across the line of control at targets what they see across. But this is going to continue till at some point, hopefully.
So we need to be better prepared. Absolutely. Okay, I've got a final minute left. I'll give 30 seconds to Wing Commander Matiman there. Do you believe that this situation is still very much under control, Wing Commander, or are you worried that this could escalate further, bringing India and Pakistan to a greater brink of war than already?
See, we have on numerous occasions in the past seen that we started and left things unfinished despite loss of precious lives of our brave hearts. We cited various reasons on those different occasions. On occasions, it was about international pressure mounting on us, lack of support, whatever geopolitics, lack of funds, maybe we were not economically